life just keeps getting better and better. Top four, now 150 million cash injection. If Arsenal fans weren't crying, they certainly are now. You guys know what time it is. It's your boy David from the Irish Hotspur, Ireland's #1 Spurs fan, the world's biggest Harry Kane fan, bringing you the Spurs chat on all things Levy and Enic today with their 150 million cash injection. We have got transfer expert and my go-to for all things breaking news for Tottenham, and that is Matt Hayes. And of course, we are joined by financial expert Sean from Spurs Talk Show. Matty, it's been a long time. How do you keep, brother?
David, Tottenham are massive, and that's all you need to know. I feel like that gives you everything you need to know about how I'm feeling today.
Is that an Italian flag or an Irish flag?
It's an Italian flag. The Godfather, Antonio. People think it's an Irish flag, but no, it's Italian.
The orange is kind of the red and the orange is kind of blended very nicely. For
I couldn't afford a proper camera, Sean. Okay.
I'll show you my flag in a sec. I've got an Ireland Spurs flag. It's based. But Shawnee, how are you keeping? Busy day for you. I think you're a man in demand today, man.
Yeah, busy day, mate. Busy day. It's awesome. Trying to figure out what this means. Trying to crunch through as you were just joining me on my channel. Trying to go through, not just this detail, but also the other details, right? Like what is the campaign prize money worth from Champions League? What is the TV money worth? What are the potential sales from certain players worth? And what does that equate to as a potential budget? It's been exhausting to go through everything, and I love that flag. And but I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Dave. Thank you for having me, mate.
No, it's absolutely. I think, Sean, it's absolutely necessary we have you today. I was going to give you a day off, but I said, look, you can blame Enic for this one, But look, I can't wait to get into it. But before we do, we've got over 130. We've got 139 in-house already right now. Everyone absolutely obliterate that like button. Hungry for Spurs news. Smash that bloody thing to bits. Also, why not, if you have enough energy in you, go with the other fist and smash that subscribe button. And guys, we're going to make best use of Matty Hayes and Sean's time today. So guys, feel free to get your super chats in with any questions you may have for the guys. It basically means we skip the queue. We get straight to it, guys. And plus, it is a great way to help support the channel on everything myself and Jack do here. We have a big week coming up. We've got the end of season fan show tomorrow. We have the end of season player ratings, end of season review, and then we'll be going into transfers, and I have a lot more lined up. The Kulusevski and Bentancur effect. I had the job contest done at Tottenham. Don't worry, I've been working very hard behind the scenes for the last 2 days. But as always, I do want to go through the chat and see what we have. I'm going to do it a bit quicker today. Hopefully everyone understands why and they get the full value out of Matt and Sean here with us today. We have Adil Bakari, big yourself up. Says the future is looking bright for us. We are back, baby. Big up. DOC says, is Alex THFC coming up? No, wouldn't have him pissing on anybody's parade today. Wouldn't do it. Mark says, please, for my sanity. No, not happening. Don't worry. Jack, my man. Big yourself up. Sue Smith. No, honestly, Sean, when we were on your show, I checked to see who else was live. Me or Tottenham TV were live, and Alex was on. And just the comments were insane. Anyway, Sue Smith, big yourself up. Sue Smith, up. You're keeping well. Georgie Hill, same to you, brother. Tequila 316. Daryl Denton. Lopeman, Neil Shafton, Mark. We've got Dermot in the house. Big yourself up. JC, big yourself up. Dark Sun G, good to see you in the building, my man. I hope you're keeping well. We've got Welsh Gal, Peter Simmons, Jason Bell, Spaghetti Slayer, Dan N, big yourself up, buddy. Neil Hartley, yeah, look, I would love a kebab. Might actually tweet Spurs, if you've got a $5 left over to throw me enough for a kebab, we'll wait and see. We've got William Pretty in the house, big yourself up. Blue Eyes, great to see you. Spencer Arnold, RAI. Jesus Christ, there's loads of people in today. Hi. There's Jet Row, Shitty, or Chitty, whatever. Big up, my man. Great name. Great caller in the house. Bobby Spurs, 164 Spur. Hope you're doing okay. Derek Smith, great to see you in the house. Wobbles, Tyler, big yourself up. Hugo Stenmark, Zoe, Michael Bennett, ATX7 Gaming, everybody, Dara, Amzo. Look, there's so many. But look, guys, like I said, if you have any questions, do get them in. I do want to make the best of the fabulous panel we have here today. And just quickly, anyone that may be looking to see where Jack is, he's actually off having a nice family day with his family and the missus. So we let him have a day off. I'm just going to read out the statement. Then I have questions then for the boys I really do want to get into. So the statement reads, Tottenham Hotspur Limited has today, Tuesday, agreed a capital increase of up to 150 million from majority shareholder Enic Sports via the issue of convertible A shares and accompanying warrants. The equity injection provides the Premier League club with greater financial flexibility and the ability to further invest on and off the pitch. The investment represents permanent capital with no ongoing interest cost to the club, and which may be drawn in tranches until the end of the year. The club's independent directors have benefited from its majority shareholders' ability to invest directly, swiftly, and without the extensive due diligence and documentation involved in third-party funding. Under the agreed structure, the A shares can be converted into ordinary shares. The number of ordinary shares granted to Enic as a result of the capital increase will vary depending on when the A ordinary shares are converted, when the warrants are exercised, and valuations at the time. If drawn in full and based on assumptions regarding the above, Enic's ownership of the club could see an increase from its current level of 85.6% to a circa of 87.5% on conversion. A dilutive impact is dependent on the number of shares granted and will be shared by all shareholders proportionately and principally by Enic, the majority shareholder. Enic required a controlling stake in the club in 2001. The club's strategy has been to deliver world-class facilities and increased diversified revenues to support on-the-pitch performances while at the same time maintaining the long-term financial stability. Daniel Levy, chairman of Tottenham Hotspur, said the delivery of a world-class home is always a key building block in driving diversified revenues to enable us to invest in the team support and our ambitions to be consistently competing at the highest level of European football. Additional capital from Enic will now enable further investment in the club at an important time. Jonathan Turner did speak, but I'm not going to read what he says because I want to use the boys' times. Sean, what is a convertible A share?
It doesn't really matter, right, for the purposes of what we need. It would be important if we were publicly owned. An A share is essentially a share that has more voting rights than an ordinary share. And a warrant is similar to an option if you were a trader or if you were investing in a company. It's the right to buy a share at a certain price at any given time. In this instance, because Tottenham Hotspur is privately owned, all it really means is that the specific people that within the Enic tranche or within the Enic side of the ownership that have invested this money, that they will have a slightly higher ability to vote on certain things amongst the boardroom in the future. If and when they take that option to convert it from an A share into a warrant and then into an ordinary share later. For all intents and purposes, it's irrelevant because it's a privately owned company and Enic already own 86% of the company. What is really interesting, if you bear with me, is that depending on how much of the money is used, they only have until December the 31st to use it. So we can talk about that part and how that affects us in a second. But if they were to convert all 150 million, if all of that tranche is used, what that does do is, according to the detail, it extends Enic's ownership from 85.5%, I think it is, to 87.5%, which essentially means that 150 million pound investment is worth 2% of the value of the company. And if you do some simple math, 2%, if 150 million is 2%, then 20% is 1.5 billion, which means 100% is 7.5 billion pounds. Now, whether or not that means that Tottenham Hotspur is worth the 7.5 billion to Joe Lewis, or whether that means they know that it's not, but they're willing to be diluted and say, we're going to give you 150, even though it's only really going to increase our asset valuation if you value it at 5 billion by about, they're going to be diluted by about 25 million on the 150. It's a little bit complicated, but in a nutshell, either he believes that the company is worth 7.5 billion, or he doesn't. If he doesn't, he means he's giving money in the hope that it will prove in turn more valuable later. Or if he does, it means that the company is now worth 7.5 billion.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. So it's would you say it's a smart move by Tottenham then, Sean?
Yeah.
Of the club.
Well, look, I mean, I wasn't entirely sure what the end valuation of Chelsea was. I think someone in the comments on my last stream said that they were bought for 4.5. I'm not sure if that was accurate, but if it is accurate, then the difference between the two clubs a month and a half ago when Todd Bowler bought Chelsea was that Chelsea had Champions League revenue. And now we can offer that. Plus, we have a stadium that's state of the art. Plus, we have the training facilities. Chelsea don't have either of that. Plus, Chelsea's squad is walking away. Half of them, or a couple of them, are leaving on a free transfer, which makes you think if Chelsea are worth 4.5 billion, despite the fact that they have a stadium that's falling apart, a training ground which is pretty good, but not as good as Tottenham's, and they've got 2 or 3 of their first team players leaving on a free transfer in a week's time, then maybe Tottenham is worth 7.5 billion now that we've qualified for the Champions League. But you know what? How long do you stay worth 7.5 billion? Depends on how many seasons you stay in the Champions League, and that will be dependent on how good a squad we have and how long Conte stays happy. And Conte stays happy as long as he has money. Yeah. And so the more you kind of like think about it and kind of reverse engineer it, it makes sense to give the 150 million now, because with all the other things that are going on, Tottenham could really cement themselves as a Champions League ever present if we did get the business done this summer.
No, interesting. One more thing I do want to ask you, Sean, before I hand over a comment to Matty Hayes, because I see AMZN putting in a comment, and Matty was only speaking to us about that, so we'll get on to him. But Sean, as well, what is this? Where is it? What are the accompanying warrants? What's that about?
Sorry, where's that?
Accompanying warrants. They talk about warrants in the statement as well. What exactly are they talk about warrants and A shares? So you've explained.
Yeah. No, so
exactly the warrants.
So they're essentially the right to buy a slice of the company at a certain price at a certain time. So the reason why they're saying that is it doesn't matter to us. It's irrelevant to us. It's only relevant to the people who already has an ownership, who already has a slice of the pie. But essentially, it's just the right to pay the price depending on how much of the 150 million is used, which is why it's important to remember that this is only available until December the 31st. If we don't spend all of our money, whatever, and they say it's also for on and off-field purchases. So you'd imagine that it's basically there for on-field purchases. However, when the transfer window closes on September the 1st or whenever it does, if there's anything left over, then it's either not going to be used or it might be used for, I don't know, building a cinema or buying some more property. But whatever happens on January the 1st, that money is gone. It's either spent or it's not spent. So that money doesn't hang over until the January transfer window. So don't worry about the warrants versus the ordinary shares. It's irrelevant to us. I can go into detail if you want, but no one really cares if it's not relevant to us. It's just a taxation thing for the people that are, that are invested in the company.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So, guys, hopefully Sean has brought clarity onto a couple of things there, that, the A shares and the warrants. So anyone that was reading the statement didn't know what they were, like myself, hopefully Sean has brought a lot of clarity to that. Now, Matty, I will go in and ask you a question, but first you can answer this from this guy. And Dara big up Dara, he already put the player's name in the chat, but he says, heard there was a big signing we were about to make, but the club ditched it due to the bad influence he would have had on players. People are saying it was Basuma. What would you say, Matty?
It was not Basuma. It was a name that, to be honest, I wouldn't expect to see linked with Spurs. I was told about this a month ago. It was Paul Pogba, which I'm sure will be a surprise to many people in the chat. Paul O'Keefe has confirmed it on Twitter as well, and it kind of backs up what I've been saying about the improvement in recruitment. Just the message I got, I said in recent months Tottenham have mulled over a possible move for Paul Pogba. It is my understanding they've decided against making an attempt. So I got that on the 20th of April. Again, Paul O'Keefe confirming that today. And look, it proves the change in recruitment at Spurs, because I've been speaking about it quite a bit, and especially today, because some are concerned that the £150 million, investment doesn't necessarily mean good investment. You know, there could be mistakes made. And look, if we're going to sign 6 to 8 players, I'm sure 1 or 2 will be mistakes. But the summer Antonio Conte had, where he had the same amount as £150 million to spend, we brought in Ndombele, Lo Celso, Clark, and Sessegnon, and it seemed as though that all those recruitments were based on talent and ability and nothing else. Whereas you can see with Fabio Paratici and Antonio Conte, with the signings of Romero, Bentancur, and Kulusevski, that it's not just talent they're talking about or they're looking at. It's also adaptability. It's also their impact in the dressing room. It's so much more than just how good they are on a football pitch. And I think this is further proof of that.
No, 100%. Look, for me, we were actually just talking about on Shawnee's channel, funny enough, that, you know, character, the right personnel is right, because you've seen what's happened at the likes of United and stuff like that. If you bring in the wrong sort of players, the wrong sort of characters into your dressing room, it only leads to one way. Neil Shafton says, get ready for the influx of super chats to go along with the 150 million. Spurs win, all the great shows also benefit with cash injections. Well, my man, all content creator channels, none of them have any big wigs behind them. So, you know, anyone that does want to help them out, or you can, you should, because it is a massive help to everything they do. And look, you know, don't ever feel like you have to either. Like I said, just get your comments in the chat, and I will do my best to bring every single one up. But Neil, I don't know whether that means just from you or you expect it from everybody. But look, it's there an option if people want to do it. But big up, Neil. Look, this 150 million is absolutely huge for Tottenham Hotspur going forward, my man. Because for me, just quickly, I mean, look, we all said at the end of the season, thank you, Conte, the fans, the players, they've all formed a bond. Now it's over to Daniel Levy. Do you want to get on the train? You know, well, the answer is yes. Enic and Daniel Levy do want to be able to be a part of this. And I don't think any Spurs fans should be moaning today whatsoever about this, because we all said over to you, Enic and Daniel Levy, and it took them 2 days to give us what their intentions are. So we shouldn't be moaning about this whatsoever. It's absolutely brilliant for our football club. But big up Neil Shafton, that injection, not quite 150 million, but it definitely helps, buddy. Big yourself up, my man. Hope you're keeping well, Neil. We also have Tony Young. He's become a new YouTube member. Big up, Tony Young. Absolutely buzzing. Guys, we've over 6,000 subscribers. If everyone grabbed that channel membership, it means security for this channel going forward for a long, long time. So if everyone feel free to grab that membership. It's cheap. It's only $4.99 a month for the good one. And, you know, we will be changing all the perks now in the next couple of days as well. So why not grab it? But big up, Tony. Really appreciate the support, brother. But Matty, what I want to know from you now is how does this affect Conte's long-term future at the club? Because there are a lot of reports over the last few days that he was in Italy, and, you know, Paratici was going over to meet him to try and tell him, you know, that Tottenham would try and do everything they could to get him in. What does this now mean for Conte's future at Tottenham? Will he be here next season and beyond?
He'll be here next season. I can say that with almost absolute certainty. You know, everyone was discussing whether see Kirsten in the live chat. Hello, Kirsten. How are you? Look, people were discussing whether Champions League or money would be more of a thing that would make Conte stay. It was never Champions League. It was always money. It just so happens that maybe getting Champions League allows us to put more money into the club. But if we qualified for Champions League and didn't make any investment in the summer, Conte was gone. We can always go back to what happened at Inter Milan last season. I think maybe when we're talking about Bastoni, who I hope is on your list to discuss. You know, he would have walked without the money, and I personally think the fact that he went off to Italy for a holiday straight after the season ended, I think he knew it was sorted. I think he knew he was going to have that money available, because how could he really go and relax if his future wasn't set? You know, if he didn't know what he was doing. And last season, it was straight after the end of the season with Inter Milan that he started having discussions with them about where things were going to go. So even Fabrizio Romano tweeted it today that this cash injection is absolutely huge for the future of Antonio Conte. And the fact that it is Fabio Paratici who's heading the scouting department, you know, soon enough he's going to appoint a number 2 for himself. There's a lot of togetherness, and there's 2, maybe 3 people there that are on the same wavelength, that are singing from the same hymn sheet, and that's all Conte wants. That is all the man wants. If he finish 5th, 6th, 7th, or 17th and avoid a relegation by the skin of our teeth, what he wants is to be able to build a team that he wants to be able to build his team, players that he can trust with all that. And 150 million plus Champions League prize money plus naming rights, which I'm hoping will be secured in the coming weeks, plus the sale of players that we know are going to go, there could be upwards of 250 million available for him to invest in the squad this summer. And if he wants to six to eight players, that is absolutely more than enough.
Yeah,
100%. And Matty as well. Is this investment purely just to keep Conte at the club? Because it was reported, and I heard you saying it earlier on as well, about him wanting maybe 6 signings in here before we went away on pre-season tour. And do you think the board, maybe with this cash injection, that they could be looking at towards a title challenge next season?
Look, I think it's kind of frustrating and disappointing that this has all come for us at a point where the title probably is out of our reach, even if we have Conte, even if we do invest 200-300 million, because of the level Man City and Liverpool are at. I think, look, we have been the third best team in the league since Conte came in. By the numbers prove that. So I think we could end up in that nice little middle ground where Chelsea were this season, where they weren't quite fighting for the title, but they were never really in danger of falling out of that top 4. But even if it is just, if they're investing this money purely just to keep Conte, I'm absolutely fine with that, because we know Conte can bring us places, and look, they know that as well. The club know that we're at a crossroads right now. It is a point where I think we've been here in the past, but I think we're now where it's built up, and we've been here so many times that it is make or break right now. And if we lose Conte, that's the end for Enic, in my opinion. I think they know that. So if this money is being put in out of fear, if it's being put in out of ambition, if it's being put in because, I don't know, Joe Lewis got drunk and sent a text he didn't mean to, I really don't care. It's the fact that the money is being put in is all that matters, and we've 2 fantastic men there to make that work for us.
100%. And Shawnee, why do you think the club have decided now is the right time to put in that 150 million?
I think it's a combination of things. I think it's the fact that Newcastle are going to make waves, right? Newcastle are going to come in. I think that Arsenal are going to really struggle right now. I think that the weight of the public pressure, I mentioned this earlier, the weight of the public pressure from the Man United game when Nuno subbed off Lucas Moura when he was the best player on the pitch. Yeah. And everyone was like, what are you doing? And that's just not the Levy or the Enic out crowd that was responsible for that. So anyone that thinks those people, they got the job done, it wasn't. There was a stadium of 62,000 people, and not every one of those people are protesters, but everyone was angry. But I think that people like the Arsenal board could be looking right now, I mentioned this before, at Tottenham and thinking, well, Nuno had just got a 3-year contract or a 4-year contract, whatever it was, and they had to pay a 15 million pound compensation. Then they had to go and pay for Conte at 15 million quid a year. And it was a massive, massive investment and like a last chance saloon for Daniel Levy because of the weight of public pressure. And it worked out so well that all of that, paying off Nuno and paying for Conte, has already been paid for technically by qualifying for the Champions League. Teams like Arsenal might now look at the Tottenham template and say, well, Arteta's not worth that extra thing, right? And so if you look at that and you could say, well, Arsenal either could fall away and disappear, or they could come again. Like I say, with Newcastle, I think that there's no better time, especially when you also factor in things like inflation, right? If you're gonna give 150 million quid, what better time to do it when your 150 million quid in cash reserves is being diluted by 10, 12, whatever inflation really is, 15% every single year. There's no better time to get it done right now, because if you don't move now, if you're like staying still versus moving forward now, the gap between the two versus moving backwards has never been more pronounced. And I think that it's just the perfect cocktail of variables that suggest that right now, if there was a time when they need to do it, now is the time. Also, sorry, Dave, last thing is I spent a little bit of time doing this on the last show, is that a lot of Tottenham fans don't know that we owe £40 million net on players that we don't even think about that we owe any money on right now. But at the end of this season, we owe 40 million quid on old purchases that half of them aren't in the team anymore, but we still owe 40 million quid. So imagine if we didn't have this 150 million and then we didn't spend a lot of money this summer because we didn't have the 150. Tottenham fans would go absolutely apeshit at Daniel Levy saying, where's the money? Why aren't you spending it? Not realizing that 40 million quid has to be paid on for residue money on Ndombele, on Lo Celso, on Højbjerg, on whoever else. And so I think that because of the weight of expectation, the weight of opportunity, and because of the threat of other teams behind us that could or couldn't move forward or could fall away, I think that there is no better time, including when you factor in the economic environment, there's no better time to spend 150 million quid.
Absolutely. I absolutely love that answer. I think it is very important that you keep bringing up that we do owe 40 million this summer in terms of on transfers and stuff like that. And the inflation is another massive one. Adrian says, all the abuse and bullshit we have to go through will finally be worth it soon. It's time for Spurs to be great again. Come on, you Spurs. Look, Marcelo said it on the show the other day. I've said it to Matty. I've said it to Sean. I've said it to I don't know how many people. Our time will come. It will come. And it's here. Our time is here now. And the reason why I say that is because Sean speaks about the economic situation. Barcelona, Real Madrid, screwed. Juventus really need the Super League. They're not in the best financial position. Neither are Bayern Munich either.
Inter Milan. Inter Milan need money as well.
Inter Milan. Chelsea, their future is in doubt, but it doesn't matter. They're losing a whole heap of players this summer. United have pressed the reset button. Arsenal are just absolutely shit and have a con man in charge. So they're not going to be catching up anytime soon. Matty, is this the perfect time to do this sort of investment and try and get a leap and take advantage of all these other clubs misspending in the future and all their misfortunes now? Is now the perfect time to get a jump on them and push ourselves to be one of the European elite clubs? Oh, you're on mute, Matty.
Oh, come on, Matty. Come on, bro.
Amateur hour. I apologize. Yeah, absolutely. It really is. You know, all those clubs that you've named, I'm sure there's half a dozen, if not a dozen more in a similar position. It's everyone is still reeling from the effect of the pandemic, and it's to be expected. But Tottenham have somehow managed to find this way where they can get possibly the biggest cash injection in the club's history to be able to propel themselves. And I think where we were successful under Pochettino, relatively successful, is that we did manage to capitalize on where other teams are failing. So Arsenal were trying to replace Wenger. United were in their transition after Fergie. Liverpool and City were trying to find their direction. Tottenham managed to sneak in there and managed to take advantage of that. And if we can do the exact same now, but on a bigger platform, on a bigger level, that's absolutely incredible. And we're going to look, I don't think we're going to win the Premier League. I don't think we're going to win the Champions League, but we can create a basis and a platform for ourselves like we had before we ripped it away with the appointment of Jose Mourinho. You know, if we have Conte for a year or two, and if we start to, if we basically skip the queue, you know, because there's the elite in Europe, there's the people who are bouncing in and around, there's the rest of the clubs. I think we're in that group of teams that are bouncing in and around. But if we can skip that queue and just get ourselves in, you know, that room of elite clubs is full. But if we can sneak a window open the side and just kind of crawl it and sit down in the corner for a bit, absolutely fantastic, because that's a platform and a basis that we can build on. And the job before Conte came in, even when Nuno came in, it was a poison chalice. Nobody wanted it. But if we can start to build something, and we know that the changes on the pitch is only the tip of the iceberg with what's going on at the club right now. With Conte and Paratici, they're changing everything. They're ripping the whole thing down and they're building it up from scratch again. People outside are going to know that, because people in football are going to know the effect that Antonio Conte has. So if we back him with this money, get that jump on the other clubs in Europe, and really, really start to build up while everyone else is in turmoil and trying to get things back in order, it could be a huge, huge opportunity for Spurs. And look, if this is what they were waiting for, was it a masterstroke? It definitely wasn't, but let's stay positive. Let's call it a masterstroke.
Yeah, look, do you know what? I just think the timing is right. I do think the timing is right. The stadium's up and running. They've got Conte, they've got Paratici, they've got the right people in place. Other European elite clubs are kind of sort of on their knees at the minute after coming out the back of the pandemic. I think they've seen an opportunity and they've gone for it. And Adrian, 100%. It's look, next season, I feel like trophies are coming. And nobody can write off what I say in my ad, because I called the transfer window on January 9 out of 10. I was correct. I said we'd get top 4. I was correct. I also went out the gates early and said on Romero that he's better at 23 than what Virgil van Dijk is. I was correct. So nobody can doubt what I'm saying. But big up, Adrian. Really appreciate the support, brother. Really do appreciate it. Guys, over 452 in the house.
Wow.
Keep smashing that like button. I mean, you guys, you fuckers out there are very, very hungry for the news. We've got two of the best people to deliver it to you. Keep smashing that like. You wouldn't walk into your mother's house with dirty shoes and not wipe them on the rug or take them off. So don't come into a stream without smashing that like button, guys. Keep smashing that.
I love that
button.
saying.
And guys, keep getting your support in for the channel, like Adrian and like Neil and like Mr. Young, guys. Super chats, channel memberships, it doesn't matter. Get them in, guys. It's a great support to everything we do here. And guys, if you have love in you, which I know you do because you're part of the Irish Hotspur Army, get off to Matt Hayes and Spurs Talk Show and smash that subscribe button as well. Now, I do have a couple more questions sort of on the statement, and we will go into some transfer things. Look, and I'll start with Sean and Mike. We'll let you come in on this as well. Sean, having the money is one thing, but spending it correctly is another. We have wasted 350 million when that bald Steve Hitchen was spending the money, and not a lot of them players are left at the club now anyway. Do we now have the right man in Paratici to spend this money correctly?
I think, look, there's a lot of people that are there's a lot of people that call him a fraud. A lot of people that look at his tenure at Juventus and go after him or say that the jury's still out. And the jury is still out to an extent because, you know, he hasn't had a perfect tenure. He has signed a couple of players under his name that haven't worked out, but nobody's perfect. But to me,
except David and his predictions.
No one's apart from David. David is absolutely perfect. He's 100% perfect. But I do think that if you look at the three major transfers that Paratici has been involved with, they are the best three transfers that you could think about if you look back in Tottenham's last at least 5-6 years, half a dozen years, right? So you have to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think that because of the circumstances around Europe, because of the environment, the economic environment, where teams need to spend money, where teams need to recuperate money, Italy is a good place to go fishing. And people that say, well, he's only good because he went to Juventus. He didn't. He didn't go to Juventus for Romero. And Romero has become, without doubt, one of the best signings that we're about to make permanent that Tottenham have made. You know, I can't remember a better centre-back signing in my lifetime. You know, Vertonghen and Alvaro were good, were very good, but this guy is going to be absolutely phenomenal. So, long story short, I could rant on, but because we're short of time, in a nutshell, look, Paratici, the jury is still out. I'm not going to sit here and say he is flawless, he's faultless. He's not. Mm. There's a couple of players that he signed that we haven't necessarily seen the returns on, but the big three, he's absolutely nailed it. And there is nobody that I'd rather give the reins to right now than him. Take control, bro. Take the money and take the reins and steer that horse over to Italy if you want it, or go to Germany if you want to. Wherever you want to go there. I trust you right now, 100%. If you screw it up, we can deal with that crossroads when we get to it. But I don't think you will. You're far better than the previous 2 or 3 that we've had, and I also love the fact that him and Conte seem to have not only negotiated brilliant transfers, but I feel like between them, they've got together and it looks as though they've managed to, the best bit of business they've done is managed to convince Daniel Levy to let go of the reins.
Yeah.
And say, here's some money and then I'll leave it to you. And I think that it's exciting. So is Paratici the right guy? Time will tell. Right now, there's no one I'd rather have in control.
Love that. I love that. And Matty, I mean, where do you stand on Paratici? Because look, we can't deny that. And I'm actually surprised. A lot of people give Steve Hitchen a free pass for the 350 million he pissed up the wall. But I mean, Matty, do you think we now have the right man to be able to spend this sort of money? And like Sean was saying, like, even if the big signings, do you think we have the right sort of man that does the right detail in terms of looking at the guys that he's going to spend big money on and he'll get them right?
Yeah, there's no one I trust more than Paratici with Conte to spend this money. And I said it last summer when it looked as though we were going to have Pochettino or Conte, and I said I'd rather Paratici with Conte than Pochettino, which says a lot because Pochettino is the greatest man on this planet. But he made mistakes in his time at Juventus, but like Sean said, who doesn't? Who is perfect? And the very fact that he's come into England, into the Premier League, into Spurs, and on his first season, he's managed to make signings as effective and as impactful as Romero, Bentancur, and Kulusevski. This is a league that he's still learning. This is a club that he's still learning. This is a style. Everything that he's doing at the moment, he's still learning, and he is, still trying to do things behind the scenes as well. If this is a Paratici in transition, who knows what he'll achieve further down the line. And especially once he has a proper budget. He was working on a shoestring budget last summer and in January as well, in comparison to what he would have been used to having at Juventus. So, of course, he's going to make mistakes and he will make bad signings at Tottenham. There's no doubt about that. But if you can balance the bad signings, and like if our bad signing is a Pierluigi Collini, well, he's had an incredible impact in the dressing room. We know that for a fact. Fine, let him go in the summer, but he's done some good. Brian Hill, bad signing. Was it 25 million plus the Mela? At the moment, I should say, looks like a bad signing, but in the future could be incredible. If that's what we're balancing with players who have propelled us into the top four, could not care less. Do what you want, as long as some of the signings that you make are as good as the ones you've made already. He is an incredible footballing mind. I think we all know the story of 3-4 years ago. He was in a restaurant in Milan, and he was doodling away in a tissue, and he left the restaurant after he ate, left the tissue behind him, and the waiters in the restaurant picked it up, and he had Mary Demirel on there, who at the time was playing in the second or third division in Turkey. He had Nicolo Zaniolo, who was a second division player in Italy. He had two more players who I can't think of at the moment, but he has an eye for players like that. And the best thing about it is Conte fits in the same boat as Paratici. The two of them, or I think Paratici fits there as well, but definitely Conte. When he was playing football, he was playing in the lower divisions. He was never at the highest level of football. He was playing in the Italy second, third, fourth division, which, fair enough, you're a useless footballer. But it's given them the ability to know those leagues and to know what to look out for in players in those lower divisions. And, if Paratici especially is at Spurs long term and he has that knack, absolutely incredible, because we'll be reaping the benefits of his time at the club long after he's gone.
Do you mind me just, sorry, Dave, do you mind me just asking Matt a quick question? You said about Brian Hill looking like at the moment looks like a missed signing. Do you see him fitting into any Conte formation, 3-4-3, 3-5-2? Do you see him coming back, or do you think it was just one of those? He signed here for Nuno, and unfortunately, there's horses for courses. As much as I would like Brian Hill to become a world superstar and do it at Tottenham, I'm not entirely convinced that he'd fit into a Conte model. I'd like to hear your opinion on it.
Yeah, look, first of all, I'm a massive fan of Brian Hill. He's incredibly talented. He seems to have the mindset. He has the mentality. He's gone back to Valencia and done very, very well there. Of course, we need to figure out, can he adapt to the Premier League? Is he able to bulk up physically and become a good player in this league? You'd struggle to find a system that he suits absolutely perfectly, because he is your traditional old-fashioned left winger. He's a left-sided player, left-footed, likes to play off the left, and he's found that position within Valencia. But with the way Tottenham played, that's not really what we need for a more offensive player. We play Son on the left, he's right-footed, Kulusevski on the right, he's left-footed. We need those kind of inverted wingers coming in at the side. So then you question, well, is he able to play left wing back? At the moment, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Would not even try it there. He came on there, I think against Chelsea in the Cup, and he looked decent going forward, but he has no defensive ability. So if he can bulk up, if he can learn to play on the opposite side, or if he can kind of grow that defensive side of his game, yes. At the moment, the only other position I could kind of see him fitting in is as a kind of wide striker in a 3-5-2 that Conte plays, like Alexis Sanchez and Politano did last season. But I don't know if that's something that Conte is going to try and implement at Spurs. So at the moment, I think Gil has
stay on loan.
Yeah, I think he'll go back on loan, whether it's to Valencia or to a championship team. I can't see him in the Spurs first team next season, although I think that will ultimately depend on if we get in enough players to warrant letting him go again.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
Interesting. I really like Gil Messi as well. I really do. Hopefully he can bulk up and he can come back. Maybe, who knows, in a 3-5-2, he could sit in there in the cam slot nicely. Big up Lee Richards, my man. End of season fan show coming tomorrow. Hopefully we'll see you on it. Big up, Lee, and really appreciate you grabbing that membership, buddy. It really, really does help out on everything we do here, my man. And Jason Grove I will say this. I judged Enic when they did bad. So I'm going to praise them for doing good. No, 100%. I mean, look, at the end of the day, everyone can have their views. Everyone's entitled to. Not everybody's going to be right 100% on things. But at the end of the day, Jason, you're big yourself up. I mean, at the end of the day, just because they've come out and done something that you didn't think they were going to do, it doesn't mean you cannot praise them. You can. And, you know, fair play to you. It takes a big man to be able to do that and say, look, I was right on what I said, but they're doing better now. And, you know, and you're praising them for doing good. At the end of the day, I just don't think any Spurs fan can moan about this. Every single Spurs fan, leave you in, leave you out, it doesn't matter. Every single Spurs fan said at the end of the season, now it's over to the board. What are they going to do? And they've showed their intentions. So we should not be, you know, moaning whatsoever. Big up, Jason. I like that. You know, Matt, what do you think on that? You know, like so Jason, I've seen Daigle doing it, coming out and saying, you know, look, fair play.
Yeah, I'm fully in the same boat. I said it on my own stream a while ago. After this was announced, that I've sat here and I've had my Enic out banner in the back that I stole from the We Are Tottenham TV studios. I've done my Enic out streams. I've criticised them when they damn deserve to be criticised. So I'm going to praise them when they deserve to be praised. And ultimately, there are some people out there who you find them in every family. You find them everywhere. They seem to have an agenda where no matter what Enic do, they will never praise it and they will never come to it. They'll always say, yeah, well, I don't like you, so get out of here. I've always said, with the way Enic were going, I never saw them doing what they've done today. I never saw them putting that absolute investment into the club. I felt, and I felt with the kind of infrastructure improvements that we've done recently that they were gearing up to sell the club. That kind of what Sean was saying a while ago. If Lewis thinks the club is worth what he's put in now, he's probably trying to sell, but he's going to get a disappointing surprise. But if he doesn't think the club is worth that, it's a huge investment. And it shows exactly what their ambitions are. And that's the word that we want. We need ambition. It's what Antonio Conte wants. If they were going to pick a time since 2001 to invest in this team, what manager they were going to back, if it was going to be those absolute, I would say it, that we had back in the early 2000s, if it was going to be Redknapp when he got to the quarterfinal of the Champions League, was it going to be Potter when he got to the final? If I had to pick a moment for them to really step up and invest money, I'd pick this moment right now. And if it all works out, I said it on my stream a while ago, Enic in. That may have been a bit emotional. I'm not fully there yet, but this is an incredible step in the right direction. An absolute 100% credit to them. They could be changing this football club forever.
Did you say Enic in on your stream?
I did. Yeah, I regretted it immediately. But
Brave man.
Yeah.
I haven't even gone that far, and I've defended the Enic out. Like I've been against it for so long. So
we all make mistakes.
Big up, Jason. Really appreciate the support, my man. A lot of people saying they're loving this. In fact, you know, there is only one person missing, and that is Jack. And I did have a plan this summer of hopefully, if we could, whenever people we could get all four of us available, but myself, Matt, Sean for the financials, you know, Jack for in-depth analysis on players and stuff. We could maybe all do this once a week or once every couple of weeks. Let me know if you want it. In fact, if you do want it, hashtag it down in the chat below and we'll put the pressure on all these boys to make sure they get here for it. But Jason Groves, really appreciate the support, my man. 164 Spur, my man, I hope you're doing good. I really do. And he put in a super sticker, and basically it's like a fangirl sitting there with love hearts coming out everywhere. Big up 164 Spur. I presume that means you're enjoying it, my man. Really appreciate the support, buddy. We've got Paul Markey. Gil will in time be Sonny's successor. Not a bad way to look at it whatsoever, my man, to be honest with you. Look, I think we need to buy our time with Gil. I do think we've probably got a bit of a generational talent there. I think in about 5-6 years, everybody will be talking about this guy. And for me, I think, look, if we don't have plans to use him, it is right to loan him out. Keep letting him get more, you know, used to the physicality of stuff, playing football week in, week out. And hopefully then, you know, if Son ever does finish up at Tottenham, which I hope he doesn't, Gil can come in or even at least add competition to places. Big up, Paul Markey. Really appreciate the support, brother. And then we've got Ian Cook with a super sticker. Big up, Ian Cook. Really appreciate the support, man. And this super sticker is, again, more or less a bit like 164 Spurs, but a bit more creepyish. I don't know whether he doesn't like this or whether he does. But Ian Cook, I really appreciate the support, brother. It really does go a long way to everything we do here. While Sean is eating that delicious Subway, and I am getting a bit jealous, I'm not going to lie.
I'm here. I'm not going to eat on
No.
fire.
I'll let you get that into you. We'll speak to Matty about transfers because I do want to get back onto, should people get off Enic and Levy's back for at least 1 year and just see what unfolds next season? I do want to get into that, but while Sean is eating that delicious, home-delivered Subway, may I add, we'll use Matty. No, I love it. You're making me jealous, lad. I'm running down there tomorrow morning. But Matty, transfers this summer. Talk to us. I mean, first of all, does this money now change the sort of targets we could have first went after? And, who are you expecting to arrive at this club this summer? Because everybody out there wants to hear from it.
Is this where I get to talk about Bastoni?
You can talk about whoever you want.
For me, up until whatever it was, 3 o'clock today when Enic announced this, I thought Alessandro Bastoni was just a dream. It was just the last thing I think about at night, the first thing I think about in the morning, seeing Alessandro Bastoni in a Spurs shirt. Let's be honest, it still is. But I think at this point in time that Tottenham will sign Alessandro Bastoni this summer. And look, there's a lot that we can dive into. I'm sure you don't want the long answer around it all.
No, give it to us. If you have time, give it to us.
Okay. Inter Milan are in dire financial straits. They're owned by the Zhang family, or Chinese conglomerate. They own teams in China as well. The Chinese Super League has been hit dramatically by COVID. Even still, at the moment, they're kicking off their new season on the 6th of June. All their players, everyone involved in the league, is in isolation for almost a month. They're taking it extremely, extremely seriously. There's teams over there, Chongqing, Dangdai, look like they're going out of business. There's Guangzhou Evergrande, who previously were one of the big teams who were buying every player that was available in the European market. They've had to sell all their players. They're going to be playing locals and academy graduates. The Zhang family, who own Inter Milan, owned Jiangsu Suning. In 2020, Jiangsu Suning won the Chinese Super League for the first time in their history, and within 6 weeks were gone because financially they were not viable. They disappeared within 6 weeks. The family kept Inter Milan, and last summer, very Spurs related, the reason Antonio Conte left is because of those financial troubles that Inter Milan were having. Conte had given them a list of 7 players that he said they had to keep Conte. They could not guarantee that. Conte walked, and 2 players on that list, Lukaku and Hakimi, ended up leaving the football club. They're still in trouble now. They are still in financial trouble. So according to Corriere della Sera, Simone Inzaghi, the new Inter Milan manager, is talking to the board and trying to figure out what way they can fix the financial problems without damaging the squad too much. And according to this outlet, the decision they've come to is sell a very expensive player and try to keep everybody else. And at the moment, that player it looks like they've decided on is the best left centre back to play in this Conte role in Alessandro Bastoni. So from that, it looks like he could be on his way out of Inter Milan. Not the most reliable source. I wouldn't take that as gospel, but it's a very, very important point. Then have to look at, well, do Spurs want him? Can Spurs get him? Jack Pipbrook told us a couple of months ago that Spurs were prioritising the signing of a left centre back. The players he'd mentioned were Alessandro Bastoni, Josko Vardiol, Sven Botman and Nico Schlotterbeck. Now, since then, Schlotterbeck has agreed a deal to join Borussia Dortmund in the new season. Sven Botman looks likely to be going to AC Milan. Josko Vardiol looks like will be staying at RB Leipzig. But our number one target, who Alistair Gold told us a couple of days ago, is adored by Paratici and Conte, is Alessandro Bastoni. So if we're going to go out, like Pipbrook said, and spend a club record fee or a fee similar to that of what we spent on Christian Romero to get a left centre back, Alessandro Bastoni is an insane option. And look, you have to question, where would Bastoni want to go? When Conte went into Inter Milan 2 years ago, Bastoni was a player in the wayside. He'd just been loaned out to Parma for the previous season. He never stepped foot on a first team pitch for Inter Milan. Conte gave him that opportunity, made that position for him in left centre back, and he absolutely thrived. And he is one of the best, if not the best, in that position in the world. Bastoni has said himself he owes his career to Conte. He loves the man. So we're looking at a situation now where Inter reportedly are happy to let Bastoni go. Tottenham want nobody except Bastoni. We're willing to play a club record fee, and now Enic had given us £150 million. I'm not going mad when I say it's extremely promising.
Yeah.
Now, look, this is all personal opinion. This isn't any info that I've gotten off anyone, or it's based solely on what we absolutely know and what I think. I'm sure I'm convincing myself to be more optimistic about it, but I think Alessandro Bastoni is going to be the Spurs shirt when the window closes.
It makes sense, Matt, because the other name that I think you left off the list there was Pau Torres, right? And Pau Torres was, a supposedly part of the shortlist as well. And there was a lot of interest in Lo Celso going the other way, and Villarreal didn't have all the money in the world, and so they were maybe going to let us have Pau Torres and for a player plus cash deal. And then today I find out that Manchester United have stolen a march on the Pau Torres transfer, and that the Pau Torres agent is in. I don't know if this is true or not, but from what I've heard, the Pau Torres agent is in Manchester or flying to Manchester this week, and that that Villarreal won't even ask Manchester United to pay the full 65 million euro release clause, that they're willing to let him go cheaper because they don't want to miss out on, quote, 10 to 15 million, which means that United could get him for 50 million euros, 40 million pound. And to me, I've been saying for weeks, like, obviously Bastoni is the number one target. He's insane. But Pau Torres, it's a simple transfer. Pau Torres isn't a bad left-sided centre-back. And if you could give them Lo Celso, raise the funds from like a Cameron Carter-Vickers sale, or a Reguilon sale, or whatever, you can. There's a few easy sales that you can make for people that want those players pretty easily, and you could get a left-sided centre-back and remove two of the players you don't want. And basically, you're net zero on a cash transfer. Mm-hmm. But if Manchester United are now going to get Pau Torres, then to me, the only reason that we would allow that to happen is if Conte and Paratici are supremely confident that Bastoni is available.
Well, look, I don't care who comes in. In fact, fuck it, we've got the money. Let's party. Let's go and get both, to be honest with you. Look, Pau Torres does make a lot of sense. I do think it is a doable deal. Bastoni is good. Look, I'm thinking with the cash injection and with what Matt said about Inter, if there is a chance of getting Bastoni away from there, that would be a brilliant signing. But to be honest with you,
Bastoni be number one target, surely.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I would say two of them. I don't see why one of them can't replace Eric Dyer in the team, to be honest with you. I think he definitely needs replacing. Matt, a few people, some guy asked about what's the future for Troy Parrott. Graham was asking, what sort of position is an emergency for Tottenham to fill this window first and foremost. And I mean, as well, what players do you expect to leave this club this summer?
Well, actually, I'm going to answer a question that you didn't ask just to start off with, because for anyone who may not have seen that, Fraser Forster is actually going to have a medical at Spurs, so I probably should have mentioned him when you asked me that first question. But Fraser Forster is set for a medical
this week.
Yeah, so he's going to have a medical this week. Expected to sign the contract. We could get a confirmation on this within the next week or two. Very good signing, in my opinion. Troy Parrott has had a very, very good end to the season with MK Dons. There's this weird trend at MK Dons for the last couple of years where the left back and the striker link up in ridiculous fashion for a couple of weeks. So this season, Dean Lewington assisted possibly all of Troy Parrott's goals. Last season, Matthew Saranola was assisting Cameron Jerome. So I'm worried there's some weird sort of voodoo stuff going on at MK Dons where he had a good couple of weeks. He's a player who I think is a victim of his own antics, but he's a very, very talented player. And as an Irishman, of course, I want to see him succeed at Spurs. I don't think there's an immediate future at the club for him. I think he'll have to go on loan and probably show he can do it in the Championship before he's trusted with a place in the Spurs team. And with how much we're looking for a striker at the moment, if it is going to be Gabriel Jesus, Lautaro Martinez apparently is staying at Inter Milan, like guaranteed at the moment. So whatever striker we get in, I don't think there's going to be a place in the team for Troy Parrott immediately. The other player you mentioned was, sorry, I've forgotten who it was.
Well, I didn't, but Graham wanted to know, what sort of player would be an emergency. But I am going to mention a player, Jed Spence. What's the latest on this kid? I love him.
Jed Spence looks to be a very, very good signing, and I think to fit in right wing back would be an emergency position because we need better end product from right back. Barring a disaster is the line that Paul O'Keefe used. Barring a disaster, Jed Spence will be a Spurs player. I have no idea how much the fee on that is. Football Insider said that we've started preliminary talks, which they're top notch for EFL News. So I'd back them on that. Yeah. He has a lot of developing to do. I don't think he's going to come in and be a first-team right-back straight away. I was looking at some stats, expected assists for Tottenham's wing-backs and Jed Spence. Jed Spence is second last on that list. So Emerson Royale had, I think, 0.08 expected assists per 90. Jed Spence had 0.1, and then the rest were in between 0.1 and 0.2. So on that front, Matt Doherty is a better fit for our team at the moment, but Jed Spence could develop into a better player. But then you're looking at the fact that Tottenham are changing their transfer philosophy, and they're going to get players who are ready for now rather than players who can develop. So maybe Conte sees him as a player who can go straight into that team. And I see Paddy there saying talks put on hold until after the playoffs. Alistair Gold actually mentioned as well that even if Nottingham Forest get promoted, Tottenham are expected to go in for him, and we do like Brennan Johnson, who plays with Nottingham Forest as well. So I think right back is a very important position. For me personally, I don't know if Spence takes that box immediately, but it's a deal that we're expecting to see done this summer. And in terms of players going out, Harry Winks will be gone. I think Stephen Bergwijn will.
Honestly, thanks.
That's better than the 100 million investment for you, isn't it? I expect Stephen Bergwijn to join Ajax. There was a bit of uncertainty when Erik ten Hag left that maybe he was the one who was banging the drum for Ajax to get him, but it looks like that interest is still there. Edwin van der Sar wants to get that deal done, so that's good news for us. Ndombele and Lo Celso, I think we will try to move on, but whether or not that will be possible will depend on how much money people are willing to pay. And look, the club are going to accept smaller fees. So they're not going to hold out for 40, 50 million for those players because they know it's not realistic. And I'd rather get 75% of what we could for Ndombele so that we're then able to go and get a James Ward-Prowse or whatever player it is in midfield. And I think the club are in that position as well. So I expect to see the two of those top of the transfer list, but whether that can happen is a different thing. I think Joe Rodon needs to go. You can talk all you want about his ability, but we've had 4 managers now who haven't trusted him, who haven't wanted to put him in the team, and that's definitive enough for me. As Sean mentioned, Cameron Carter-Vickers will be off to Celtic for about £6 million. I'm trying to think who else. Jaffa Tanganga's agent has said he expects him to be at the club for pre-season, but beyond that, he hasn't given us too much on that just yet.
He'll get a loan.
I think he deserves it, to be honest. I don't think we should call it a day on him. But aside from that, Brian Hill, I think we'll try to get out on loan. Sergio Reguilon, I expect to leave the club. As was mentioned in the comments there, that we still have to pay the entire fee for him. You know, at the time it seemed a masterstroke from Levy that we only pay 3 years down the line. Maybe there's a hope there that he'd be really good for 2 years. Real Madrid would trigger that buyback option, and then ultimately they just owe us 15 million net. You know, that could have been in Levy's thinking, but it hasn't quite worked out. Sessegnon has he's made himself the starting left wing back at Spurs. There's no doubt about that. Reguilon, it just doesn't seem to be happening, and I think Conte has lost trust in him as well. So, as much as I don't want it to happen, I do think Reguilon will leave. And if he does, I actually
you don't want it to happen.
I do and I don't. I do because I love.
I'm happy for him to go, man. I don't think he's got enough personally.
That's the thing. I think he does have enough, but just not for Spurs, not in the Premier League. You know, he was incredible for Sevilla in that position. Won Europa Leagues doing it, but it's the same as Ndombele, Lo Celso. If you can do it elsewhere, but not here, I'm sorry.
Not good enough.
You got to go. And if we get rid of him and then get Philip Kostic for £12 million, another masterstroke.
Yeah,
come on, or Perisic for free, or
get
both.
Yeah, get both.
They can bring Bastoni while they're coming.
The guys,
imagine that: Bastoni, Kostic, and/or Perisic as left wing, as left-sided players next season.
I can't wait to see a whole new defense, Sean. Some of them I've been watching for 8 years.
De Vrij coming in, 10 to 15 million for De Vrij to give that Eric Dyer a break. Bastoni on the left. Imagine Bastoni, De Vrij, Romero, Kostic, Jed Spence, and then maybe, I don't know, we haven't spoken about midfielders. Højbjerg and Bentancur, but maybe if we could get somebody else in there, like I don't know, who's the guy from Leipzig that we talk about frequently?
Conrad Leimer.
Conrad Leimer. Imagine getting him in there as well, and then just one striker. That's a potential champions. That's a potential title winning team right there.
Of course it is. Of course it is. That's why it's very, very exciting, guys. We will be going for about another 15 to 20 minutes. Anyone that hasn't, make sure you keep smashing that like and subscribe button. And guys, feel free to get anything, any of your super chats in before we do end off, and we will get them answered by the panel. Richard Blackdog said, if you're going to a game next season, take your own sandwiches. Enic are going to get their money back somehow.
It's a good
First
point.
of all, I like the banter. That is actually quite funny. Wouldn't surprise me to see the likes of the beer, the sandwiches. They'd probably even charge you just for taking a step inside the stadium next season.
Yeah.
Sean, do you think they will hike prices to try and get that back?
No, I think the hike price is in line with inflation, like any other business in hospitality will do, right? It is what it is. You know, unfortunately, the price of wheat, the price of bread, all of the grains, anything that's to do with, you know, the harvesting of the raw materials for general use products are through the roof because of what's happening in the world, right? Like because of what's happening in Russia and Ukraine. And unfortunately, the price of hops is going to be exactly the same. So Tottenham currently make £1 million a week on beer sales. It's not profit, it's revenue, but that's how much money comes into the club from beer sales. But that's going to go down as inflation goes up and as in the price of the materials to make the beer goes up as well. So I know he's saying it. I don't know if Richard's saying it slightly tongue-in-cheek, but like I would absolutely, I'm certain that they will, if inflation continues to rise, it's only natural that that's what happens. Inflation is the rise in prices. So if the rise in prices happen in Tesco's, the rise in prices will happen at Tottenham. It's just natural. It's not Daniel Levy's fault. Don't be angry at Daniel Levy about that. There's bigger things at play.
Why doesn't Daniel Levy just stop inflation, Sean? Why Levy out, Enic out, stop inflation? Why did he print his own money? God.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, infuriating.
Love that, Matt. Love that.
Big up, Richard. Big up, Richard. Honestly, I would be taking extra to you to stadium next season. I'd be surprised if there's any sales on in the club shop as well. Like you said, they got to recuperate somehow. But look, you know, they do make, $1 million a game match day on beer. So, you know, there is definitely ways of making it back for sure, Richard.
It's not $1 million profit. It's not $1 million profit. It's just they take in £1 million money. It doesn't mean it's profit. You know.
No, I get you, 100%. But big up, Richard. Really appreciate the support, my man. Big yourself up. Goes a long, long way here to everything we do. Sean, a lot of people are worried about, you know, the part of the statement where it says on and off the field spending. Is this money all going to the transfer kit? And is it, if it is, it's like you said, it has to be spent this summer because they can't use it in January. And what do you think the likes of off-field spending could entail?
Well, so first and foremost, when I said it has to be spent by December the 31st, in the statement it said it has to be spent by the end of the year. Now, there is a chance that could mean the end of the financial year, which runs until June. However, if they didn't say that explicitly in the statement, then it's not a true and factual statement. Now, not that because they're a private company, they don't actually have to. It's not the same as if you were, you know, Netflix or, you know, whatever, some company that was releasing a statement to the markets. It's that they're not duly bound to be entirely accurate because it's a privately owned company. However, I would think it would be amazing if they didn't say by the end of the financial year, even despite the fact that they're a privately owned company. That's why I'm speculating with, it's like a kind of a guesstimate, right? But I would imagine that I would be amazed if they meant the end of the financial year and they didn't say end of financial year, even though they don't technically have to. So that's why I say the end of December. In terms of on versus off the pitch, yes, they can technically invest it off the pitch, but like I say, I think that they would be, if they were someone that brought the 150 million quid in, put 10 million into the kitty for players, and then spent 140 buying up, you know, Chink King or whatever it is on the Tottenham High Road, I'm pretty sure
it's nice, by the way, that is a nice place.
It is nice, but I'm pretty sure that they would, you know, the riots that would occur as a consequence would be. They're smart enough to know. Don't mess around with this statement. Don't mess around with this money. They're releasing that statement when they don't have to encourage people to take the pressure off of their shoulders, all that stuff, to try and change the weight of public opinion. And so I would be absolutely astonished if they spent any of that money during the summer on things other than, you know, on the field activities. And then maybe if there's anything, for whatever reason, residue left over after September the 1st or whenever the window closes, but they have to spend it before 31st, then maybe you might find that they spend whatever's left over. But I don't think that's the intention. I'm pretty sure they're just leaving that wiggle room open in the statement. But the intention here is to put that towards on the field activities. If they don't, if they're not, like if this is all like a smoke screen and the intention is to go and buy a block of flats to knock it down and turn it into high rises in 2 years' time, I'm pretty certain that would be the most idiotic and the biggest backfire of a statement towards the fans ever. So I just can't believe that would happen. For me, I'm 99% sure that every penny of that will probably go in towards the team activities.
But
that doesn't just mean that doesn't just mean funding transfers. It might mean keeping some money back to pay for salaries, whatever. No, not loads. But it's not just 150 million quid in transfer fees. Also means you're going to, generally speaking, whatever the cost of the fees are, that's the same amount goes towards the cost of the contracts and the cost of agency fees and all that stuff. So that 150 million quid might only turn out to be 75 million quid of net spend, and the other 75 might go towards the wages and the agency fees and all that stuff. But essentially, it still goes towards the on-the-field activities, which is what we want.
Yeah, 100%. Matty, do you think off the field sort of do you think they could mean maybe the scouting department? Because we do know Paratici was in charge of giving that a massive overhaul. Could some of that money go there?
Yeah, it could. I mean, ultimately, if it did go there, that would, in an indirect way, be contributing to recruitment and stuff as well. It is worth mentioning Matt Law put out a couple of hours ago that if Conte agrees to stay, the full and complete £150 million will be made available for him in transfers. Yeah. I don't know how true that is. Matt Law is a bit strange in his negativity and then over positivity and all that stuff. It's kind of hard to really gauge what is right for him. But if let's say we put 120 million of that towards transfers and the rest in different things, and a bulk of that going towards Parati's scouting department, that's just more of a reason why we will be benefiting from Parati's time long after he's gone. And if they want to do that with some of that money, absolutely fantastic. Go ahead. Whoever Paratici wants for his number two, we're obviously going to trust him. If it's going to be in putting together these scouting networks that can go all around Europe, into South America and all that, absolutely fantastic. Please go ahead and do it, because I'd be amazed to see the quality of player that comes through there. I struggle to believe that the full 150 will go to all transfers, but I think because of the way this has been done, I think this money is now in Paratici, in his control. Yeah. And I can't imagine him going and building some high-rise flats or a cinema or an inbuilt to move the Sainsbury's into the stadium or whatever. I think it will all be done, even though it says on and off the pitch. I think everything indirectly will affect what we're seeing on the pitch at Spurs next season.
100%.
Yeah. Look, I do hope so. Every penny does go. But look, if it goes to things like improving the scouting department and stuff, as long as the majority of it goes on transfers, I'm not really too pushed. And what I do want to kind of ask you guys as well is the fans, the manager, the players have all formed an unbelievable bond this season. Are Enic and Levy now trying to join the party? And what do you make of and we'll start with you, Sean, what do you make of them potentially getting a 1.9% increase in shares in the club as well off the back of that? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Sorry, mate. What's that? Sorry. What was the question?
So, like, the players, the manager, and the fans, they've all formed an unbelievable bond this season. Yeah. Do you think now that Levy and Enic are jealous and they want to come and join the party? What was the last part I said?
The 1.9%. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think the 1.9%, I genuinely just think is just, the people that are putting the money in want to make sure that there's a dilution of the people that aren't, right? Not everybody that owns Tottenham Hotspur. There's people within Enic, people within Daniel Levy's family trust. Daniel Levy's family trust owns whatever it is, 19% or something, right? So there's people that are within the ownership model that are not putting the 150 million in. And so that 1.92% net distribution, increase of ownership, that's just basically a way of, doesn't matter to any of us, but it's just a way of the people who own the club going, well, I'm putting the money in and you're not. Therefore, you're not keeping the same ownership percentage of what you currently have right now. That's all it is, right?
Okay.
In terms of, do I think that Daniel Levy and Joe Lewis et al. Want to join the party? I think that they're. We spoke about this earlier. I just generally think that they are smart enough to look at the overriding cocktail of variables that are affecting football right now, that are affecting their money, right? They've got money sat in the bank or sat under the mattress, and it's getting devalued, right? If they got 150 million quid this year, next year, at current inflation, that could only buy them 132 million quid worth of the same things as it could this year. So there's no better time for them to put that into something where that 150 could multiply and generate obscene wealth for them as a valuation on the club if Tottenham go on to great things. And that requires nothing short of, better players and better positions to close the gap on Manchester City and Liverpool. And they're looking at Chelsea and thinking, you know what, that's a club in disarray. That's a club that we can overleap.
Yeah.
They're looking at Arsenal and thinking, we can create a gap now. We've already got a small gap. We can really create a bigger gap. They're worried about Newcastle coming in and eating their lunch in the top 4 next season. So I think that all that Daniel Levy and Joe Lewis aren't sitting there going, I want to celebrate with the Tottenham fans. They don't give a shit about us. But what they are looking at is what benefits them benefits us for the first time, right? For the first time, they're sitting there and looking at the environment and saying, let me put that 150 million to work. Because right now we've got a guy that's generating an environment and a support system like Conte. Paratici's doing his job. And right now, all the other things, the economic environment and the other teams' situations suggest that right now is the best time to put that 150 million to work. Nothing more, nothing less. I'm not grateful. It's overdue. Well done for doing your job. But now let's go and make it work. And we can all, I don't care whether they're at the party or not. I won't buy them a beer if I see them. But, it's good that they're at least on the same page as us for once.
It's grand. It just means people can go back to buying beers in the stadium now,
Exactly.
Phil President, I forgot. I also predicted what would happen with Harry Winks as well. Big your man up. Honestly, I probably have 5 predictions to my list and probably 10 when I think about it properly.
Nostradamus, we'll call you, shall we?
That's good.
But look, Matty, I mean, we all link this 150 million to Conte's future. But does that now mean Harry Kane is staying as well? Because obviously Conte is a massive factor in it, but he also said he wants to see investment in this team. He wants to see a plan, something he can get behind. Does that now keep Harry Kane at the club?
I personally don't think it matters. I think Kane stays at the club regardless, whether he wants to or not. This is just maybe something that will make him a little bit happier to stay at the club. Reports a couple of days ago that Kane and his entourage contacted Man City in February and asked if there was a potential for a move, but City at that point had already said 75 million for Haaland. We're not going to say no to that, or 60 million, whatever it was. Absolute pittance. I think Kane was staying regardless, but he's just happier to do it now. And I think it's easy to look at Kane and say he's a player that we need to hold on, but Romero, Kulusevski, Bentancur, players like that, we need to make sure we're happy as well, because we haven't had the rumors with them. We haven't had them for long enough to get worried about teams coming in, but there's teams looking at how good they're doing right now and thinking maybe there's a potential move there. So I think it does go from top to bottom with how happy people will be at Spurs and the positivity and optimism within the change room in what they can achieve. I do think Kane stays regardless, but it's not a bad thing, obviously. I think what he was saying about the investment, I think was just a challenge to Levy and to Enic, reminded them that they need to back Conte and reminded them that everybody knows it's on them. If Conte walked, it was because Enic didn't back him. And that's no secret. Every single person on this planet would know that. Yeah. So maybe it was Kane just challenging them.
Yeah, a bit like Conte has done all season. It has been reported that nobody has not spanked. Sorry, that's the wrong word. It's not.
Well, I hope that hasn't happened either.
Some sort of porn club here. Don't get mistaken. I meant speak to Daniel Levy frankly than any other manager at Tottenham Hotspur, and he is the sort of man that he'd have no problem doing it in terms of compared to maybe a Pochettino who didn't really have a leg to stand on because of where he came from at Southampton, whereas Conte has come from winning trophies, so he has more of a leg to stand on to speak to Levy about investment and stuff like that as well. But look, last but not least, guys, what I want to ask people is bit of a controversial one. Take as long as you want to answer it. But where is it? Do we now have to get off Enic and Levy's back for at least a season and see where this goes? Get behind the club fully for one season, behind Conte, behind Son, Kane, and the boys. You know, the board have put the 150 million in. Does that now mean we should just, for one season, get behind it? Who wants to go first? Brave man, whoever does.
I'll take that. 100% yes. 100%. You know, anyone who was protesting against this this ownership, this board and all that for a long time, I agreed with you. But what were you protesting for if it wasn't this? You know, were you protesting for protesting's sake? Were you protesting, was it a personal agenda? Or did you actually want investment in the football club? 100%. You know, but what we're doing, like I said, what we're doing if this wasn't it. I know there was a good friend of mine, Shan, who made the point during that last home game against Burnley, where there's an Enic out protest, albeit a small one. There are a time and place for that. You know, it doesn't, when there's positivity, when we're facing Burnley, a very tough game, hoping to get into the Champions League. I think that's the point where you have to kind of back what's happening on the pitch. Some people took grievances with that. We won't name them, but you know, if at this point you're still actively protesting, you're still actively criticizing everything Enic do, if you're not giving them praise for this, you're outing yourself as someone who just has a narrative, has an agenda, 100%. And has no reason to protest and give out just for the sake of protesting and giving out. This is what you were asking for. If it doesn't work out, all well and good. Power to you. Go and say what you want to say next season. Put Levy's face on banners and Photoshop them all you want. But at the moment, this is what we've wanted. This is what we've been asking for. And this is what the club has been crying out for a decade or more. So sit back, enjoy it, and see where it brings us.
Yeah. No, look, I'll let Shani go first. Go on, Shani. You can go first. So, well said, Matty, by the way. Very well said.
Yeah, really well
Thank
said.
You,
really well said. You know how, like, there was a few people, but not that many, who at the end of the season, when we finished Champions League in top 4, those, like, half a dozen people in the community could say, I never doubted it. I told you so. And all the people that doubted it had to go fair play, and some of them still haven't. They're now celebrating. Well, this guy, not only did he never doubt top 4, he also never slandered Daniel Levy. This guy spent hours and hours and hours getting abused by Levy out. And I was never like massively Levy in. I was always just like, explain to me your logic. Find me a better chairman who's not money laundering, who's not, you know, legitimizing awful human rights regimes. Find me a team. Find me 2 or 3 teams. Maybe you could look at Liverpool, but apart from that, find me teams that that don't have the money laundering or the sugar daddy money, and find me a better chairman that's done more for a club than Daniel Levy has, without having to go and dip into the pool of money that the club can't generate itself, which is important. People think that that it's different. Somehow it's different because it's a football club. It's not different. A business should be self-sustainable. A football club should be self-sustainable. Daniel Levy has never had to go into the coffers, which some people think is a bad thing. I've always thought is actually a sensible and logical and an admirable thing. Now, sorry, I feel even more. I feel like I want to gloat.
Let it out, Shani. Let it out.
You know what? I'm not going to rant. I'm not going to rant today. I'm going to rant at some point this week. I'm going to go out and do a thing.
Let it out, man. It's your
I told you so.
You didn't finish. You got abused for months in the comments. So
yeah, it was a tough first 3 months, first 4 or 5 months in the community for me, because I chose to take a side. And listen, you know, there's a few people I want to call out. Where is he? Craig Bowler in the comments. Craig Bowler, he was there with me. There's a few people that were with me the whole way. And listen, it feels good to say Daniel Levy right now. That's about time, bro. I've been on your side for a long time. Thank you for coming forward and doing this, and hopefully now it's all going to pay dividends. But more importantly, forget all the stuff I just said. Like, ignore that. That's just me being a dickhead. But Matt, what you just said is absolutely spot on. If the Levy out team still want to go and protest this summer before we've even seen what happens, then they have an agenda, and it's almost like their personality is attached to a narrative, and they're terrified of that narrative not being popular enough. So I hope that everyone can just give the guy a chance, give the guy a break, hand it over to Paratici, hand it over to Conte, and then see what happens. And I think it's going to work out really, really well. And next season is going to be one of the most exciting seasons that any of us have experienced in our lifetimes. Interesting.
Well, look, I'll take John Stokes' super chat and then I'll have a quick say on it. John Stokes says, Enic making available 150 million Premier League TV broadcaster money, etc. 160 million Champions League revenue, 100 million, selling 6 to 8 players, 100 million, 510 million for the war chest. I mean, guys, you expect it to be anywhere near this number. You're talking about $500 million.
No, I've got the number in terms of like the additional money that otherwise that what you would other have. We did this earlier. The maximum you can make from Champions League, which was not factored in, is about 80 million. If you go all the way and you win most games, the maximum you can really hope from additional media money is about another 70 million that isn't factored in. The naming rights deal was touted to be 25 to 30 million quid a year. That if there's anything in the works there, that's probably at the upper end of that spectrum. And then, of course, on top of that, you've got the AIA, right? So they had 100 million 5-year deal, 20 million quid a year, but that's factored on certain amount of appearances on certain TV shows. That will have its own kind of bonuses and things. So you can maybe get another 3 or 4 million quid a year out of that. Getty, the 3-year deal, I can't find out how much that was worth, but there is. We did this on the last show, mate. And if you factor in the amount of players that we could probably get rid of that we don't need, there's probably like maybe 100 not that we can get rid of all of them. There's maybe 150 million quid's worth of player value of players we don't need that if we can find the right buyer, we can get. There is, it doesn't even matter what the number is. The number is enough. The number is enough. When you factor in the amount of money we've got in player value we don't need, the amount of money we have in potential media money that's excess to normal, the amount of money in additional stadium revenue, excess to normal, sponsorships, excess to normal, and campaign prize money, excess to normal. Like there is 405. There's probably that much, like something like that. More money than Conte will need because Conte's always worked within reason. Conte's never needed excess money, but now we have excess money. So I think that essentially whatever Conte wants, Conte can get, as long as there's not other clubs that are going to come in and convince them otherwise. That's how confident I am now. Money's no longer really a factor this summer for us, for what we need, I don't think.
Well, there you are, John Stokes. Money is no factor. Everybody, get your wish list at the ready. Big up, John Stokes. Really appreciate the support, my man. Big yourself up. And then I had to take Graham's comment. He says it's not just about one transfer window. Graham. No, look, 100%. Look, you know, it's been 21 years. Sean would argue a lot differently. Look, all I'm going to say is I was one of the first ones to put out there an in-depth stream on Enic and Daniel Levy way back when we had Jose Mourinho and stuff like that. And look, all I ever wanted with this was just this sort of investment. I don't want to be seeing Harry Winks in a Tottenham jersey. I couldn't care if he's a Tottenham boy. I don't want to be seeing Dyer in a Tottenham jersey because I don't see trophies with these sort of guys. We have to improve, and that's all I've ever wanted. Look, I'm a connoisseur of, like, you know, watching fine players. I used to love the likes of Ronaldinho, Zidane. I can appreciate the art of defending, like Maldini, Nesta, people like that, old Ronaldo. I just want to see great players out there that can do the basics of football, which is, first of all, control the ball, and second of all, pass it. When I'm seeing players can't pass it 5 yards or ballooning it long into the opposition team, I may as well go down and watch my local Sunday League team. You know, it's absolutely ridiculous. And all I've ever wanted is to see quality players at this great club that I think it deserves. And hopefully going forward now, that happens. That's all I've ever wanted. And I'm sure that's all a lot of the Levy-Enic out people wanted. But what I will say is I don't want to hear any moaning now for a little while at least. I want people to sit back. I want them to see exactly where this money goes and everything else. I think if we have a good window, I think we probably should take a break for at least one season or at least 6 months to see how it goes. Get everyone all in one. The board, and I don't care whether people like this or not, Daniel Levy, the Conte, Paratici, the players, the whole management team, and most importantly, the fans. I want to see us all come together for one season, and let's see where it can take us. Let's see where it can push us. That's all I'm asking for, is just one season. Everybody on the same train. If I have space left, you can get on my train, and we can get through to the end of the season. I don't want to see any more moaning about any of this, about the investment, this, that, and the other. It's there now. Let's see where this takes us. Look, guys, we are going to end off still 524 in-house. I mean, it's absolutely smashing it. But look,
I hope they're all applauding at home.
Why are we ending off? Why are we ending off? Do we have to be somewhere?
Well, no, Matty has to go. Matty's a busy man. I mean, me and you can stay on.
Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, let's stay on. We'll stay on.
We'll stay on. Matty, where can people find you, my man?
They can find me in a place of absolute happiness. But more realistically, I'm Matt Hayes Tottenham blog on YouTube. Just endless transfer content. I have a video coming out tomorrow with Michael Bridge from Sky Sports. We did a season review, transfer preview. We got some good insight there on some of the celebrations with Michael Dawson on Sunday night as well. So if for nothing else, make sure to check it out for that. I'm Matt Hayes THFC on Twitter as well. But the main channel that you need to support is the one that you're watching right here, and Sean's channel as well too. Absolute gents. Pleasure to be on the show tonight, and you deserve all the love and support that you guys get.
Love you, Matt.
Look, Matty, absolutely appreciate it. Quickly before you go, there's one guy, what's his name? Gary keeps asking about Lewandowski, Matty. Look, I don't think it's ever going to happen. You know, just shatter his dreams already.
Gary, you're an incredible guy and a wonderful supporter of all these channels. And I want you to know that I appreciate you. And I see all the comments. I see all the love from everyone in there. But Lewandowski is off to Barcelona. I have seen you ask about Wilfred Singo as well. And David can back me up on this. I heard about that back in January with the interest we had in him. I think he's a plan B at the moment. I think Jed Spence is ahead of him, and I don't think we'll be getting two right backs. But he's a good option. He's one that Paratici identified very early on. And of course, he knows the Serie A better than any of us do. So if it happens, I'll be happy. But I'm not too sure it's one to look out for at the moment.
No, absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Well, guys, the link for Matty's channel is here in the chat. You don't even have to do any work. You just simply have to click on it. It'll bring you straight to it. Smash that subscribe button. And if you do want to help get this panel together with myself, Matt, Sean, and Jack, what should be called is the Four Spurs Boys take on the transfer window. If you want to see that, you know, every time Matty is streaming, just get in the comments and tell him you want the Four Boys taking on the transfer window. Matty, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your knowledge and your insight. And we'll see you again soon, brother.
No worries at all. I'll talk to you all soon. Love to everyone in the chat as well. See you,
Matty. Thank you. What an absolute legend.
Right. Mate, honestly, the mic drop of the show was him saying about the Levy out team. This is what you've wanted. This is what you spent time asking for. So you have to put a pin in it. You have to put a pin in it now. If you're still going to be Levy out now, regardless, then it doesn't make any sense. Like what more could you want in the short term? In the long term, I know you might want to say, well, let's see how it goes over a year or 2 years or whatever. I get that. But for now, you've got what you wanted, right? Yeah. Everyone's happy. So let's see what happens.
Exactly. Everybody's happy. You know, look, I'm not going to hide away from it. It got toxic for quite a while. People were being called out on Twitter. A lot of fake stuff were being said about people purely because they would not dedicate every single minute of their content to leave you out. They want to talk about stuff going on the pitch, etc., etc. Well, let's put an end to absolutely everything now. Let's wipe the slate clean and let's just go forward, everybody, like one, behind this club. I don't want to hear any more of this shit. In fact, what I will say is the people that were calling out other people, you know, about super chats and everything else, Ask them did their super chats and stuff like that go to any sort of Enic out movement, Levy out movement towards banners and stuff like that? Because I can guarantee you it fucking didn't.
No, it went to paying for their season ticket renewals.
Huh?
It went to paying for their season ticket renewals. A lot of it, you know.
But look, I just want all this bloody shit to end now because it got me real depressed this season. It got me real depressed to the point I felt like bloody giving up. So hopefully all this shit can fucking end now. And going forward, we can all be one and just move on and support this club without any of this sort of shit going on. That's what I hope.
I agree, mate. I 100% agree. Listen, we don't have to continue if you don't want to.
No. Let's continue. I'm just going to quickly turn off my camera and smoke a rollie because I do need one, but we will continue, Shani, of course.
I'll be the face of the show for a moment. I don't.
Yeah, you can host for a sec. Where do you want to take this?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday. No, I'm kidding. Let's. Why don't we do? Fantasy transfers, right? Or not fantasy transfers, maybe real transfers, Dave. Gabriel Jesus, we haven't had a chance to speak about him. We spoke about him on my show. We've talked about Jed Spence. Jed Spence is a likely right wing back. It looks like it's 99% done according to the press, and Matt Hayes agrees with it. We haven't really talked too much about the forward line, right? So we've got Lautaro Martinez, it looks like he's not going under any circumstances now. Of all the names that Tottenham have been linked to, you have Gabriel Jesus is the big one this afternoon. I don't think we've spoken too much about him. Is he someone that you would like to see at Tottenham? Is he someone that...
Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah, is he someone that, I know we spoke about it on the last channel, but I don't think we spoke about it today on your channel. Like, is he someone that you wouldn't mind coming in? You know, we've got, listen, Tottenham have got a plethora of options right now with our front three. And we've got Bergwijn, who's probably going to leave, and Lucas Moura, who I think will probably hang around because he's a good team player. And by the way, that little flick that he put on for Sonny's first goal against Norwich, it was absolutely delectable. I don't know if you'd be happy with Lucas Moura hanging around and happy to see Bergwijn leave, but if you are, then we need to find at least one, if not two, people that can supplement the forward options. Now they have, whoever they are, they have to be good enough that when they come in, they're not going to make us wince with the idea of whoever's the traditional three, Harry Kane or Sonny or Decky stepping down. You have to have confidence in them, but they also have to be people that are willing to play 50% of the games, right? So Gareth Bale's a name that's been touted a lot. The Welsh manager, I forget his name, he came out this week saying he thinks that Tottenham have already done a pre-contract with him. We haven't heard anything more about that, but Gareth Bale might be someone that that Tottenham could use because he'd be happy to play on the bench, and when he comes on, we know he can do the business. Gabriel Jesus, do you think he's someone that would want to be leaving a team where he sat on the bench to play for another team where he's sitting on the bench, and at least at Manchester City he gets a winner's medal? At Tottenham, he might not. Do
you know what, Shawnee? I think when you look at Jesus, I think it was a no-brainer for him to come from Brazil to Man City. He's learned off the likes of Aguero. You've been back up to him. This season, he hasn't always played up front. They've asked him to play out on the wing, out on the right-hand side a couple of times. Look, I'm not Gabriel Jesus' biggest fan, to be honest with you. And after everything
I'm not either, to be honest, mate. I'm not
about him being back up to the likes of Aguero. Now Haaland's coming in. He doesn't look. Gabriel Jesus is at the point now where he wants to go somewhere and be the main man. I cannot see him coming to Tottenham. Look, if he came to Tottenham, I wouldn't mind it. It's back up to Harry Kane. But from what I believe is that the club is looking for someone that can play all across the front three in terms of having that flexibility. And what I will say is, look, I would like another striker in here, a specialised striker. But I was saying this earlier on in your channel, Sean. Yeah. I do think if Kane goes injured and you get someone that can play all across the front three, you can move Son up front. He's been making direct runs in behind all season long. Yeah. And getting a lot of joy off it. That's why he's up there for the Golden Boot. Conte's changed the way. So look at Kulusevski. Look at that turn against Norwich. You don't do that if you've never played striker before. That guy can play striker. That turn around the defender, beating the keeper. Okay, he got his feet muddled up, but that happens. He was in two minds. Did he want the goal himself or did he want to give it to Son? And in retrospect, he done neither. But he can also play up front. But
Yep.
what we need to do now is put ourselves. Look, I would like another striker, but if we don't go for
Who would you like? Who would you like? Who would you like?
It's a hard one, Shawnee.
Well, let's go through it. Let's go through the options, right? Martinez ain't coming.
Yeah.
Dybala ain't coming. Jesus, you don't want. Right?
Yeah.
Who's the next one on the list?
See, the thing is, Sean, there's a lack
Sterling.
of. Again, I'm not his biggest fan. I think he's hugely overrated. Look, he's better than Lucas and Bergwijn. Don't get me wrong. It's an improvement on the squad. Look, for me, I think a striker is a very hard one to do. Darwin Núñez, I wouldn't mind taking a gamble on. I do think Liverpool are heavily interested and they might try and go for that sort of deal themselves, maybe with the potential of Origi going or Firmino, could end up going, you don't know. But he's a good player, Sean. He scored 20-odd goals this season, scored goals in the Champions League, has scored goals against Liverpool this season. But for me, I think, look, there's a real lack of world-class strikers out there. I mean, you go back before, we had Keane, Defoe, Berbatov, at one stage, we had Mido, Canute, Defoe, and somebody else. Tottenham have always had four strikers that you knew would come in.
But none of them were world class, were they?
No, that's what I'm saying. No, but the thing is, they still got you goals. But when I'm looking at it now, football has changed a bit. You're looking for that one guy to play up front. No one really likes to play two up front anymore. Yeah. And the role has sort of changed. And that's why you're seeing a lot less quality, world-class strikers coming through, in my opinion, because before there was two places up for grab, which meant every squad had four. Now there's only one. So I do think that contributes to the lack of players coming through.
So would you say then that you're more valuable to be one of those wing forwards like a Sonny, like a Salah, like a the fella Diaz, Luis Diaz? Are those players more valuable today than an out and out? Who's the Swedish fella who's played in Milan, who's AC Milan? What's his name?
Swedish guy,
Ibrahimovic, right? Like a standard, an old school number 10 who's out and out, can handle it. But because, like you say, that those sorts of players can't play in three different positions, they can only play in one. Do you think that Tottenham trying to find a replacement for Harry Kane, if they don't want to find someone, because Harry Kane is not the same player as Sonny or a Kulusevski, he's not the same as a Diaz or a Mo Salah. Is Callum Wilson someone that you could go after? Is someone like one of the guys from Watford that got relegated? One of those sorts of players where you know what you can do, or Ivan Toney, that sort of player. Is that someone that you would like who can play the Harry Kane role, but isn't like a tricky kind of dribbler, a tricky wing forward, but an actual out and out, but he'd not play 100% of the games, but he'd play, 50%.
Me personally, Sean, I actually think we'd benefit from someone like a Mitrovic, to be honest with you. I think someone like him, I think would be perfect. Someone that, when you get the ball out wide, you have someone that can go and attack that ball. Look, Harry Kane isn't necessarily that man. I know he's a big guy, but he's not a real sort of ball winner. Yes, you can get the ball up to him and he can hold it up. But again, if you want to take him off, you need someone else that can also do that. Someone like Mitrovic would be perfect. Flicking on the headers, getting Sonny running in behind. You can get the balls out wide against the likes of Brighton and Brentford, where we struggled to get through the middle. We struggled to get in behind them. Get the balls out wide, old-fashioned wing play. Get the balls into box. Get your striker to go and attack it. I don't think someone like Mitrovic we could definitely benefit from. I like what he's about. He's strong. He's always up for the fight as well. He's been scoring goals for Fulham for fun. Even when he was in the Premier League, he done well with the amount of goals he was getting for a relegated team. I would like someone like a Mitrovic.
How much is he going to cost us, do you think? I think
he cost us less than someone like an Ivan Toney, to be honest with you. I think with Ivan Toney, look, he's had a good rise, from the lower leagues up to Brentford, then into the Premiership. He's up there in the Premier League charts as well, or he was at one stage. And he's 11th in the Premier League charts with 12 goals, and he's only behind Maddison, Bowen, Sterling, Zaha, Vardy, Jota, De Bruyne, Mane, Kane, Ronaldo. Like, for his first season in the Premier League, it's not a bad season whatsoever.
How
But
old
what
is he?
I will say is the English tax on him. Someone that's born in England, because people need it for their squads in terms of registration and stuff like that. A player that's worth 20 million all of a sudden becomes 40 million. You know what I mean? And I think you'll end up paying more for an Ivan Toney than you would a Mitrovic, and I think you get more or less the same.
And if we were to go and get a Mitrovic, does that increase the likelihood then of us needing to keep hold of someone like Chapit Tanganga, Harry Winks? I don't know what the current numbers in our squad around English players are, but how if we get rid of have we got enough English players where we can still get rid of Harry Winks and not be in debt of English players towards the squad? Do you know that? I'm not sure of those numbers on
Well, I mean, you have a 25-man squad, and I know it used to be 8 has to be from England, but out of that 8, 4 also has to have come through the academy, and they would classify as a homegrown.
Wow.
Now, look, I know you can leave your squad short. So say if you're given a 25-man squad and you don't meet the English quota, you can register a 24-man squad, etc., etc. Look, for me, I don't see it really being a problem. You're bringing in Fraser Forrester, so that probably frees up.
Yeah, he counts. Yeah, he counts. Yeah.
Ollie Skip has already replaced Harry Winks in terms of coming from the academy and being homegrown.
Okay.
So I
Harry Kane is 3.
Harry Kane. Who else have we got? Dyer doesn't
Tanganga
doesn't count. Davies doesn't count. Tanganga's another one. And you have a third choice keeper there, Alfie Whiteman, if you want to. Look, I think we have more than enough to be honest.
Doherty wouldn't count, no?
I don't think so, no. He came from Ireland. He came from Bohemians when he was 18, so I don't think he counts. Sessegnon, I think, is another one. He counts. So for me, look, it doesn't matter. Even if you need an English player, sell Harry Winks and bring in a Ward-Prowse or someone like that. At least have an English player there that meets the quota but also adds to the squad. Let's not keep continuing on with Harry Winks just because he fills an important role in terms of squad selection just for Europe and the Premier League, but offers absolutely nothing. Every manager is, and I don't want to hear this, he hasn't been given a chance. Every manager that has been at Tottenham Hotspur since he's been here has given this guy a run in the team at some stage, and he's ultimately let everybody down. We can't keep continuing with this crap. For me, if it takes, look, Jed Spence, if he comes in 10 million, there's another one that can go towards the quota.
I'd be so surprised if we get him for 10 million, Dave. I'd be so surprised. Not only has he got talent, but you're right, the English tax and things, I'd be very surprised if he costs 10. But even if he costs 15, 16, 17, whatever, at the end of the day, if this kid is capable.
Is like Middlesbrough, right? They didn't use him this season, and they will want money to be able to reinvest into their squad and go again for promotion next season. So it makes sense for them to sell Jed Spence because they have that guy Jones there, Well,
that's interesting, right? Like, I've asked this before on the Tottenham walks, and I actually I was looking for comments on this, and I don't think many of them came. If Middlesbrough had Jed Spence and loaned him out because they preferred Jones. Jones is Jones English as well, isn't he? Or is he Welsh? I'm not sure. But
no, Jones is English.
Is he not? Is he better, or is he not as good as Jed Spence? Like, what's the deal there? It's a weird one to me that a championship team would loan out a player to another championship team. When if we're going after him, why aren't we going after Jones?
Do you know what it is? When I look at the two of them, Sean, I do think Jed Spence with the right manager has more potential to go on and cut it in the Premier League than someone like a Jones, in my opinion. I think you look at Jed Spence, you look at his attributes. He's already 6 foot, which will help us in terms of height, which we need in this team because we struggle from set pieces. He's very good on the ball. He can play 1-2s. He can beat his man. He has that raw athleticism. He can get back. He can make great tackles. And for me, you look at he's already done it against someone like an Arsenal this season and came off the pitch man of the match. For me, I think he has a lot more potential than the guy from Middlesbrough. I think you can coach him a lot more. I think he has a lot more potential in terms of physicality, in terms of as an athlete. I think you have a lot more to get out of him than you do Jones. I think he's older than Jones too, though, as well.
But Jones is older, or Jones?
No, I think Jed Spence is older than Jones.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Isaiah Jones is he's younger than 21. Fucking hell.
I think so. I think so. I could be wrong, but I think I read somewhere.
I like Isaiah Jones when he played against Tottenham. I thought he played really, really well on that game. I haven't seen much of, for my sins, I haven't seen many Middlesbrough games, but I thought they did really well against Manchester United. I thought Jones played really well in that game, and I thought Jones played really well against Tottenham as well. So I don't know. I'm just surprised that that they're willing to loan this guy out, and because they believe more in Isaiah Jones, who's younger. And
clubs can get it wrong, though. Clubs can get it wrong.
True.
We've got it wrong on a number of occasions. Clubs can get it wrong. But look, it could have been a case that they looked at the two in training and said, no, Isaiah Jones is more ready than Spence. Spence has gone to Nottingham Forest. He's had a point to prove, and he's come out and proved it. He could easily.
And Nottingham Forest are going to get promoted potentially, and Middlesbrough won't. So Soul Taker though in the chat is saying Jones is a better player than Spence, and he's a kid as well. So Soul Taker's on the Jones side, but yeah, interesting.
Look, either or, I think it would benefit Spurs getting them in, because we do have to look at the next group coming through. We don't produce an awful lot, even if you want to bring one of them in, and it's a mix between under 23s games and senior games, whatever it is. But I think it's about time. Like we've done it with Kyle Walker. We got a young Kyle Walker in from Sheffield United, developed them. We got a young Danny Rose from Leeds along with Aaron Lennon, developed them. We have proper players in place. And what we were able to do with the likes of Rose, he went out on loan to Sunderland. Kyle Walker went on loan to Aston Villa. They were able to get game time, and we were able to develop them. And there's no harm in having one eye on the future. If a player like that becomes available and it's sort of like a good deal, you've got to go for it. You can't afford to not go for it. And we haven't really been able to go for it because we've had so many places and positions in the squad that we've needed to be able to fill. But with the injection of cash from leaving in Enic, with the likes of the Premier League revenue coming in, selling players and stuff like that, we can afford to do a bit of both. And I said to people, expect to see a small bit of both, purely because we brought that guy in from Everton that time, who was at Derby, who was in charge of who has brought players, especially at Derby, the likes of, I can't remember his name now, it's some weird name. I can't remember it now. Parkins, I'm going to say, I think is his last name, Parkins. And, he was like what Wayne Rooney was able to do at Derby. This guy was responsible of looking after a lot of them young players who gave it a good go and were unlucky to stand up. So I do think you'll see some sort of players, young enough players coming into likes of the academy, maybe coming in and being loaned out and stuff. Because I believe we should always have one eye on the future. Because if you do, Sean, and you spend the money now, it saves you having to spend 50, 60, 100 million further down the line when that player becomes the finished article,
Look at Dumfries, right? He was the one we missed out on last season that we could have paid 10 million for, whatever it was, and could have got him, didn't. And now he's gone off to Italy and quadrupled his valuation. So you're right. 100%. I completely agree with you, mate.
100%.
And you got some super chats.
Yeah, we'll get through them, Shawnee. The bottom do it says, David, we have a lot of options in Serie A. As per the analysis, exactly. This guy sent me on a great spreadsheet yesterday. I have to say, of a lot of a good breakdown of the Serie A. It's very good, actually. Sean, I'll send it to you. It's very, very good.
Love to see it.
He says, Sean, you have been logical throughout the season. Big up to the Irish Hotspur and Spurs Talk Show. Well,
big up to Moldova. Love you, man.
I was looking at that. I was loving Milinkovic-Savic. I was definitely loving Berardi from Sassuolo. 15 goals, 14 assists. Is there potential you could kind of get him out of there? I know clubs have tried before and failed. Could you get him out? He'd be someone that'd be, you could come in, he could play right, he can play left. But look, Sean, he said you've been logical throughout the season.
Listen, I think I'm a pragmatist, right? I was listening to myself going off on that rant about Daniel leaving. I didn't like what I was coming out with. In real time, I was caught up in the moment, but actually, I'm going to not retract it. I'm going to pull it back a little bit because I don't want to be the guy who's like, I told you so. I hate all that shit. But I feel like I'm a pragmatist. I feel like I always want to just look at the information and try and remove emotion from my opinions if I can.
It's hard.
It is hard. But the reason why I've always challenged the Levy out narrative is because I feel like the narrative that they present to the community is full of emotion, and they overlook realities, or maybe they don't understand some of them when it comes to finances and stuff. And so I've never been a Levy in guy. I've always just been someone who's like, well, hang on a second. Like, you got to remember this, and that. And so I don't feel like I should have said, like, I told you so about Daniel Levy, because I think that's obnoxious and that's not really the sort of person that I want to be. So I apologize for coming across that way if I did.
No, look, at the end of the day, I mean, look, I'm just going to be honest. If you're going to keep battering somebody every single time because he has a difference of opinion, that sort of emotion is going to come out, Sean. You got battered. You got absolutely battered.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, but, well, I don't mind it. Like,
I get what you're saying, but like, I wouldn't apologize, because that emotion is going to come out when you've been battered for 6-7 months.
No, yeah. Well, listen, it's not, but it's not like an I told you so. All I'm saying is, like, now, like, it didn't. I feel the same then as I do now. Let's just wait and see. But this is what everyone's wanted. Everybody, whether you're Levy in, Levy out, everyone wants the best for Tottenham. And this is a good day. It's been a great week. Everything's gone our way. And then this comes out today. It's an amazing day. And I would hope that even the most staunch of Levy out have only ever been Levy out because they are Tottenham fans and they want the best for Tottenham. And therefore, this is a day when everyone should take their foot off the pedal, whether it's the brake or the accelerator. Take your foot off the pedal. Let's go into cruise control and let's just wait and see what happens. And I don't want to spike or spoke or invoke any more any of that crap. So I shouldn't have been like, I fucking told you so, because I'm not that. That's not my belt. So anyway,
But
he's definitely, love you, man.
He's definitely been logical throughout the whole season, my man. Big yourself up the bottom, dude. I really appreciate the support, brother. Really appreciate it, my man. And he also says we should bring in Scamacca into this discussion. Look, I know he's a player you're a big fan of. Jack is a big fan of. He is a big guy. He can play up front on his own.
He's a youngster. Look at the size of his neck. Have you seen the size of his neck? I'm just looking him up now. He's got like he's a fucking giraffe.
January. We were linked with him across January.
Dave, he's like a giraffe. I mean, type his name into Google. The fucking size of the guy's neck.
I know. I know what he looks like. Look, we were linked with this guy back in January. For me, I'll be honest with you at the bottom, dude. I think that's one where it's sort of a gamble. I would like to see him do it a few more, maybe another year or two in the Serie A before we go and take that sort of gamble. I would like, there are players out there that we can get that, will guarantee goals in the Premier League. I think that's where we need to be next season, because if you do go out and you do pay whatever it is Scamacca will cost, which I'm sure will be about 30-40 million, if that doesn't work, you're leaving yourself with a big, massive hole. And I'm just not sure if Scamacca is quite ready for the Premier League.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I know he's had a good campaign this season, to be fair to him, Sean. He has had a good campaign this season.
I don't know much about him, mate. I didn't even recognize the name. I looked him up, and Sassuolo, I don't follow their fortunes much, but I can't believe the size of the man's neck. It's insane. He'd need one of those like giant collars just to make himself look normal if he was at the football awards. I just want to quickly, before you move on to the next one, Stevie Fraser, I love you, Stevie. I do love you, mate. But you're saying if there was no Levy out, we would not have Conte. I think this is a misnomer. I think a lot of the Levy out credit themselves for when the Man United game happened and we lost 3-0 and the fans turned and Daniel Levy decided to sack Nuno after the game, and then a few days later we had Conte in. That was definitely like a sliding doors moment in the season, but I don't think that can be attributed to the Levy out brigade, because of the 62,000 people that go to the stadium every week, a very tiny fraction of them are Levy out, right? Otherwise, if there was a bigger proportion of them that were Levy out, there'd be a bigger proportion of people that stand outside the Profit Before Glory banner outside the stadium week in, week out. And I go there week in, week out, and there's only ever the same 2 or 3 or 10 people that are outside it. So I don't think it's fair to say that 62,000 people inside the stadium, or half of them, whatever, that were chanting for certain or were booing on that particular occasion, were Levy out. I don't think that's fair, mate. So I don't want people to think that Levy out don't give credit where it's due, but they give themselves full credit for the Nuno sacking. I don't think that's fair either, if I'm honest.
Look, anyway, this discussion is going somewhere it doesn't need to go. What I would say to everybody, no, look, there's definitely some truth to what you say, Shawnee. But what I'm going to say to people is now is the time. Everybody next season gets behind this club. We can have the board, the fans, the manager, and the players for the first time in hopefully a long, long time. Everybody pushing in the one direction, supporting this team, and let's see how far it can take us. I will end it there because there's going to be a lot of to-ing and throwing for it. It's one that's never, ever going to stop. It's always going to be there. It'll be there next season. I know it, but I do just wish, hopefully, we can all come together and get behind this club next season. But look, to keep going with the super chats, big up to Bolton Duter. I really appreciate the support. The Bolton Duter, let me know, do you think Scamacca could he handle it in the Premier League next season? Let me know. Or do you think, maybe his stats this season is because of someone like a Berardi who has been assisting him and stuff like that? Let me know, my man. Let me know. Moondog's in the house. He says, good evening, lads. I don't know
what to bet on.
Lad.
Well, you know what? I actually, this is God's honest truth, Moondog. Myself and a few of my mates, we have literally over since 2010, we bet as a group on golf, on the majors, and we have a 93 or 94% record of winning on betting on the golf majors. So Moondog, if you want, message me and I'll put you into the group, buddy. If you want to do that, there's a couple of majors coming up this summer. There's the Open Championship next, and then there's the US Open later on in the summer. We make money every single time betting on that. It's literally free money, bro. So reach out to me and I can put you into that group if you fancy it.
There you are, Moondog. Let him know, my man. But don't worry. I mean, there's always something you can bet on. I'm sure there's a game of polo or bowling, competitive bowling happening somewhere that you can get a bet on. There's always something. Look, you can even bet on how many miles I run this summer. I don't know. There's loads of bets you can put on, my man. But big up, Moondog. Really appreciate the support, brother. William Kelly. William, a lot of people have been putting in chats over the last 2 days to sack your clairvoyant. He says, "New Oracle prediction incoming. We will have 150 million to spend this summer." Oh shit, bit late. I can't believe this has happened today, Sean. I mean, I really didn't expect Enic and Levy to do this. I really didn't. I did not see it.
It's a good day, mate. It almost feels as good as qualifying for the Champions League. Just thinking about the difference that it can make to our summer. It's not quite as good, but it's up there.
Didn't see this coming.
You know? No, I didn't.
You're his son. You're Levy's son, according to William.
He hasn't told me anything, the bastard.
No, Will. I mean, look, it's absolutely huge for Tottenham, and I keep repeating myself, but like Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus, some of the top elite European clubs around Europe are in big financial trouble. Arsenal are fucked with someone like Mikel Arteta in charge. Chelsea, you don't know what their future holds, but it doesn't matter. The amount of players that are leaving there this summer. United pressing the reset button. We now have a clear path, and we can jump a few steps on the ladder to be able to start competing with the likes of City and Liverpool just in the Premier League alone. But that will also, when you look at City and Liverpool, how far they keep going in Champions League, that will replicate itself on the European stage as well. I'm absolutely convinced of it. So, William, we just get the right signings in. And look, these signings have to be the right characters. They have to be good characters. Conte does not work with dickheads. We've seen it with Endom French fries, Ali, Le Shit Show. We've seen it with all these guys. He will not work with knobheads. So it has to be the right character as well. Big up, William Kelly. Really appreciate the support, my brother. And then we have a big one, a large one. Brian C. Socrates is a very happy guy today, Shawnee. And
he said, love you, mate.
Awesome stream, lads. You speak so much sense and loving the positivity. Exciting times ahead. Now we have momentum to drive on to the next level. Be audacious, and it will become a reality. Trophies are the target. Now is the time. Big up, lads. Come on, you Spurs. First of all, I will let Shawnee have a conversation with you. I just want to say, everybody, check out Brian C. Socrates. 3 fan cams he sent in after the Norwich game. And listen to each one of them. Absolutely, this guy speaks sense.
Yeah,
I absolutely love this guy. You know, he's a bit like Philip Brady. When you lose, they're the sort of people you want to hear from because they make you feel better. You know, they make you feel good. They're calm. And check them out. They've been absolutely brilliant. But, I mean, Sean, what would you say to Brian here?
Well, first of all, mate, I love you, man. You are the philosopher in name and in nature. You do find a way to make sense of the good times, and the bad times. Right? I've seen the videos that Dave is referring to, and I think you're a brilliant presence in the community, mate. A brilliant presence and a very welcome one. In terms of trophies, I'd love to ask you if you can respond to this in the comments, and also I want to bring it to Dave, obviously, for the first initial response. Like, what is now that we've got this money, right? Now that we've gone through how much money we could have with a successful campaign in the Champions League, how much money we should have with additional media and sponsorships and all that stuff. If we spend it wisely, what does success look like next season? Are we now that this is a new reality and we've got that extra money, do we now have to consider an actual title push, or coming close? The expectation? Do we have to be within 10 points or 5 points of City and Liverpool? Is that what is the benchmark? Is it two finals or 3 semi-finals? Like, what is it now? Whatever it was 3 days ago, surely now with the extra money, we have to reassess a little bit and think, well, okay, maybe we now need to up our expectations, or should we, or is that foolish? Like, how do you feel about that?
You know what, Shawnee? You look at it, and Brian, let us know in the comments, my man. But you look at it, Shawnee, right? We're what, 21 points off Liverpool, I think 23 off Man City. Now, a good summer transfer window can definitely at least cut that in half. But I am convinced Liverpool and City can't keep going. This is about 4 or 5 years now they've been at this pace. Eventually, there will be a knockoff or a drop-off from one of them teams. Yeah. And we can catch that. Look, I expect us to be up there around 28 games to go. What happens after that, who knows? But I would expect us to be up there for 28 games to go. Conte already got us to a semi-final in the Carabao Cup under again, and we went out in the semi-finals over a doubleheader against Chelsea. He was using a lot of players that he hadn't have used previously. Plus, we had a hell of a lot of injuries at the time.
Yeah, he played Matt Doherty left wing back for the first time. A lot of weird things. He played Galini. A lot of weird stuff going on, wasn't there? Yeah,
100%. Right. You also look at it, unbeaten against Liverpool and Man City this season. In fact, you could say the 2 draws against Liverpool is what got us Champions League this season. You look at in terms of Europe. Okay, you have Paris Saint-Germain, and you may have a couple of other clubs, but Villarreal got to a semi-final this season. And that's purely because the likes of Barcelona, stuff like that, Madrid even next season, I'm convinced all the financial team will catch up on them. And that's where Spurs can swoop in. I would like a decent Champions League run out of the group stage anyway. But I definitely think one of the domestic cups is achievable, Sean. If Leicester can do it, if fucking Wigan can do it when they bet Man City that time, there's no reason why Tottenham Hotspur can't go and deliver one, especially with a good window, because it's inevitable. You're going to come up against Man City, Liverpool. We're unbeaten against them. Conte has the tactics for them. Chelsea now, on the other hand, is a different story. I hate them posh, idiots. I really do.
Idiots.
Yeah, they are. They're absolutely fools.
Mate, but under Conte,
for a manicure before they come to the games. But you don't know what their future holds. They're losing Rudiger. Alonso could be off. Azpilicueta could be off. That's half of their back line already, and that's not including a couple of others that could be out of there. Yeah. So we could also catch ground on them. There's definitely a potential to grab a trophy. Brian, what do you think? Let us know. So
before Brian lets you know, Conte got 2 points per game, right? Sorry, mate, go on. Yeah.
No, he just says, I'd be like with an FA Cup next year and challenging for the title, comfortable top 4, then really challenge for League and Champions League the following year. But with Conte, nothing would surprise me.
Conte got 2 points per game, right? Over the time he was in Tottenham. So if that would equate to 76 points if he'd been there from the start of the season, which would get us into third place this season, but we'd still be what would that be? 76, 14 points behind Arsenal. 14 points behind Liverpool. However, like, do you think that if he'd been there from the season, how many more points do you think we would have if he'd been there from the start of the season?
Well, I think he gained 56, didn't he, since he's come in? I think 56 points since he came in, and that was mid-October. Now, before that, Nuno won 5 and lost 5. And look, we've had a couple of dour results under Conte. If he would have came in, I do think we would have finished third, Sean. 100%, I think we would have finished third.
But not second or first, yeah.
Yeah, if he came in at the start. Because don't forget, under Nuno, we went through a period where we lost to Palace 3-0, which should never have happened. We lost to Arsenal over by 45 minutes. That will never happen under Conte. And there's a couple of other derby games in and around them. We lost.
We lost to Man United, obviously. I think we lost to West Ham 3-0. Was it or 1-0 or 3-0? We lost to West Ham.
We did lose to West Ham. Yeah,
it was embarrassing. Yeah. So I don't know. Look, I think, and that's with the squad that we have, right? And he got the very best out of the players that we have. And if we could get these players that we're talking about in, mate, I don't know. If we could go and sign a Kostic or a Perisic, right, on the left, if we can go and sign a Jed Spence on the right, if we can go and sign a De Vrij in the middle, or a Bremer in the middle, or a Bastoni or Torres on the left side of centre back, and then we just need one more kind of defensive midfielder like a Conrad Lima, and if we can go and then get an Eriksen, and then one more striker, someone else to fit in to replace Bergwijn. Really, like, I don't know what else we would need out of the squad, and then on that basis, if the squad then is good enough, I don't see why we couldn't qualify. Why we couldn't? What would be holding us back from challenging Liverpool or Man City, in your mind?
I think, look, if you are bringing in 6, roughly, which is what we're expecting, Sean, 6 new players, right?
Yeah.
Now, that's a lot of players to bring into the dressing room. And that's why I say every signing, you're going to have to do a background check on them and make sure they're the right sort of personality, which I think we will under with Don Paratici in charge, of sort of, looking after that cash. But it takes a while for all them 6 players to sort of blend in. You've seen how long it's took Emerson this season to get going, to kind of blend in, feel like he's a part. And I think if we don't, close the gap on Liverpool or City next year the way we would like to, I think that will definitely be a reason why. I do think Conte has the ability to be able to steer this club in terms of the right direction. Look, it could be a case next season you get to 2 cup semi-finals or 1 final, end up challenging for the league, but miss out on all of them. But then the following season, and I think the reason why I think we will miss out maybe with Liverpool and City, Sean, is because the camaraderie of their squad. I'd be very surprised if both teams make drastic changes in terms of like 6, 7 summer signings. So they already have that camaraderie. They already know exactly what each player is looking for in terms of, movement off the ball, where each player is going to be, etc. Where to stand if you want to pass off a certain individual, etc., etc. And there is a lot to be said for that. And I think if we don't end up closing the gap the way we would like, I think that would definitely be a big reason why. The fact that you're bringing in 6 players, because it does change a lot of the dynamics in the dressing room.
It's just a little bit. So essentially, it's not about the lack of talent. Then it's about the lack of experience of more than what Conte can offer. It's about just the gelling of the team, right?
Yeah.
Like, it takes time for wine or beer to brew. Like, you can't. Like, the longer the wine has to settle, the better the better the drop, I guess, right? And so the only thing that would be holding us back then is just the inexperience of playing together.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I feel on it. Moondog says we need a trophy. I believe success brings success. Yeah, 100%. Look, once you win one and you've done the formula, the players have the know-how, the manager has the know-how, the board have the know-how in terms of that they've invested the money and they have identified the right players to come in. Once everybody at this club has that bit of know-how, it will happen. look, there's a reason why I think we're going for under Paratici, under Conte. Paratici has been at Juve. They've won league titles and stuff with him bringing in players. Conte has won trophies. I think he's won 7 over the last 5 years. So for me, I think you have the right people there in terms of the guy spending the money and the manager. And I think Conte has the right pull where he won't let any more sort of dickheads come to this club. But the fact that they have experience of winning trophies, and the players are surrounding themselves with that experience. Daniel Levy is surrounding himself with that experience, because although we had Jose, we still had Steve Hitchen signing players. That's a complete mismatch. Steve Hitchen doesn't know how to win trophies. He hasn't built proper, successful teams, all that have done well across Europe and their domestic competition. I think right now we have the right people in place. And I think we're surrounding ourselves with the right sort of people, the people that have the attitude of, I don't care, I want this guy at all costs, we'll get it done. And I think that is the right step to take going forward.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing I'm worried about a little bit about the expectation around trophies is that if you look at the final of the FA Cup this year and the final of the Carabao Cup this year, it was fought between the top 3, or on both occasions, 2 of the top 3 teams in the league, right? And teams that everybody finds it very difficult to beat. Now, we can compete with Man City on our day, but Liverpool is a bit harder, and Chelsea, for whatever reason, we have this stigma against that holds us back. Hopefully that won't last forever. But I do feel like it's almost as hard to win a trophy domestically. I'd almost argue that because Tottenham probably don't know and don't have relationships and history with the sorts of teams that you come up against in European football, that it might almost be easier to progress and do well in the Champions League, or even if we get relegated to the Europa League after the group stages. I feel like it's probably just as likely that we'll do well in Europe as we would in the domestic cups, because Liverpool and Manchester City are 100%. So dominant. And to be able to bridge that gap, whether it's in the league or it's in the cups, like a lot of people are like, we just need to win a trophy. But the Carabao Cup is just as difficult to win as the FA Cup, because you come up against at the later stages, you come up against the same teams that also, this is that whole, like, I haven't developed the conversation more than just that 86% of all trophies have been won by the top 5 teams. But I'm sure that if I was to look at it right now and go back and go, well, what percentage of the finals have been competed by the top 2 teams in the league over the last however many years? I'm pretty sure the stats will be just as scary. Like, Tottenham need to find a way to get themselves in and amongst that top 2 to give yourself a fighting chance, because you can go as deep as you want in the tournament, but if you get to the 3rd round or the final and you lose, you still lost. You still haven't won the trophy.
Yeah.
Right. And so if the final is always fought out between Liverpool and Man City, or Liverpool and Chelsea, then we need to find a way to be able to overcome that stigma.
But I think that's where Conte comes in, Sean. He's unbeaten against them this season working with what he's had to. You bring in better quality, them draws or them close wins become a bit more dominant. And Conte is the great equalizer. He has the tactics to be able to stifle the way they play. But then we also have the likes of Kane, Son and Kulu, that when we do break away, we can put them to the sword. But if we have better defenders, some of the goals we conceded against them this season don't happen. We don't. It means you can play out from the back a lot more if you get better ball playing defenders in here. And I do think that's great equalizer. But I think you make a great point. I think, look, winning anything in England now is harder than, in my opinion, than what it's ever been. Chelsea won the Champions League not so long ago. City were at that final, this year's semi-final. Liverpool have won a couple over the last few years. The 3 English teams are constantly in and around the semis and the final. And that also, you look at the League Cup, Liverpool, or the FA Cup not so long ago, Liverpool, Chelsea. You look at the League Cup, I think it was the same, actually. Liverpool, Chelsea, the
always.
League, Liverpool, City. So I definitely agree. It is harder right now to win anything in England than at any other stage previous. But the great equalizer is Antonio Conte.
Yeah. Well, let's hope so, mate. Let's hope so, because we definitely need to up our, like, yeah, essentially, I just, like, not to get onto the Levy thing, but like, I just want to, like, it's that thing where, say, we haven't won a trophy in however many years, that it's never been harder to win a trophy, and hopefully we can now close the gap with this money. If we can convince Conte to stay, if we can convince Harry Kane to stay, Sonny's not going anywhere, Kulu's staying. All we need is a few more players. And I'm not even going to mention like staying injury free and things, because those things never happen. They're variables you have to bake in. You have to expect injuries. You have to expect whatever, outbreaks of flu and all that crap. You have to figure that stuff in. But like, if we want, if changing the story of Tottenham, if satiating certain people in the community is to win a trophy, I think it's just as difficult or just as easy to win a trophy as it is to win to challenge for the title. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to the crunch, you've still got to play the very best teams on the very last days.
Yeah, no, 100%. Couldn't agree more, John. I think you make a great point. I think a lot of us do have to actually think a bit more like that. That you look at the teams that have dominated Europe over the last few seasons, they're all in the Premier League. I think a lot of people do have to take that factor into account. But now is the time to go after them.
Now's the time to go.
Yeah, exactly. Now is the time to go after them. Moondog says, I'm betting we win a cup next season. Look, I do think one is coming. I would like to think one is coming. I'd like to think with the amount of money we're going to spend this season, it warrants a cup. It's Kane, Son, Hugo. They definitely warrant winning something with Spurs. And once one comes, we'll open the floodgates. Because if we win one next season, Conte will stay, and he's a serial winner. He doesn't accept failure.
Do you think Conte stays? Because how many times has Conte stayed at a club for more than 2 seasons? I can't think of any time. He didn't stay at Chelsea for more than 2 seasons. He didn't stay at Inter for more than 2 seasons.
He did want to stay at Inter. Let's be fair. The whole financial thing.
He just fell out with it. Yeah. So you think Tottenham is the first club that he's going to marry?
Well, do you know what, Sean? I listened to Gary Neville podcast, and he did make a good point that where else would you want to be right now? The Premier League is where it's at. That's why you're seeing Haaland come to the Premier League. That's why you're seeing Kai Havertz go to Chelsea rather than around Europe, because the Premier League is where it's at. It has the best atmospheres going. It has the most loyal fans, in my opinion. It's the most competitive league, in my opinion. And for me,
and it has the closest gap that every team can win on their day. Right? Yeah. Norwich, Watford, Burnley can beat any team, but maybe they didn't beat this season. But generally speaking, like the team that's 16th can beat the team that's 3rd on their day. Yeah. And that doesn't happen in Germany. That doesn't happen in Italy. That doesn't happen in Spain. And it does happen in the Premier League. It's great.
And if you're looking for a project, Sean, where has the most money to be able to build them projects now coming out of the pandemic? The Premier League. The 100%. Big clubs in Spain, fucked. Some of the big clubs in Italy, fucked. Absolutely. Bayern Munich have to go down a complete different route now because they're in financial troubles. And, PSG are only after signing up Kylian Mbappe. Well, let's be fair. There's probably no financial fair play for them whatsoever. But the point is what was I saying? That the Premier League is where it's at right now. And for me, he's not going to get the City job. Pep Guardiola ain't going anywhere anytime soon. Klopp ain't going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
Chelsea's future is a bit, so he won't be going there. So the next best club for him to be at is Tottenham Hotspur. We have
100%.
The likes of the best stadium, the best training complex, Kane, Son, huge factors.
Plus, he's getting paid more money than anybody else. I don't think there's a chair. I don't think there's a manager or a player, or it might be a player, but there's not a manager in the Premier League that's getting paid as much as Conte. And like you say, this, who was it in the comments you just said? Derek Smith says, Sean, I'm hearing wedding bells.
Yeah.
Yes, indeedy, Derek. Yes, indeedy. I hope so, mate. I hope so. We could tie him down for 2-3 years. It'd be superb stuff, mate. It'd be absolutely superb.
It'd be absolutely unbelievable. Moondog says, I just asked Auntie Sally, and she said I'm deluded about winning a cup and have more chance of seeing God. Look, that definitely has been the case over the last 21 years. But look, never give up believing. Never.
Someone's got to win them. Someone's got to win them. We can beat Liverpool. We can beat Liverpool on our day. Look, we know we can.
How many cup finals have we gone into? How many near misses have we had, especially under Pochettino? Because everybody said Yeah, it's great, but we're going to bottle it. We're going to bottle it. We're going to bottle it. What happens? We bottled it.
We bottled it.
You believe? I believed in top 4 all season. I believed, when I seen the transfer window in January with Paratici, I believed Enic, and I've said this loads of time. I do think they were starting to turn a corner, and I was excited for this summer. I didn't see the investment coming, but I thought they would make a bit more money available for Conte. But when you see all that happening, it only breeds for good things. And my point is if you believe and you see in trophies will come. But if you keep believing that we're going to bottle them, but then don't be disappointed when Spurs keep losing in finals and being the nearly man.
Now we put the Spursy title to bed. That's what the song asked. When Sonny got his golden boot, we put the Spursy title to bed. We're not Spursy no more. We're Spurs.
Yeah, we definitely are. But you're not deluded, Moondog. Look, I got called deluded all season. I like to think now people look at me and they go, hang on, Dave's not deluded. He's a fucking genius. So hopefully that is the case. But
he's the oracle.
Yeah. Big up, Moondog. Really appreciate the support, my man. And then we've got Robert Palmer. And he says, big up, Robbie. He says, if we sign the equivalent of Galini, Sanchez, Doherty, Endom, Lardas, the shit show, and Bergwijn for 150 million, we'll be saying we won the transfer window. Just wait and see. But not every big signing means success. 100%. 100%. And I fully get what you're saying here, Robert.
I do as well.
What I will say is, you look at most of them signings, bar Galini, they're all Steve Hitchens signings. All Steve Hitchens signings. You look at the last 3 signings that Paratici has made, and you have to bear in mind, some of the signings he made in summer were for a Nuno project, not for a Conte team. But you look at the 2 signings he made in January for the Conte team, completely transformed, the way we play, because we could play from the back into midfield, into Harry Kane. But Kulusevski also added a goal threat from the right-hand side, which we've benefited from. So Conte, the thing is, Conte can get these big names in because what European elite club, and I don't want to hear about Lyon being a European elite club because they're not, but what European elite club, the likes of Milan's, Juventus, Barca's, Real Madrid's, bar Regulon, and the return of Gareth Bale, which was always going to happen, where has Steve Hitchens been able to go to these clubs and get the deals done? We've constantly let down De Vrij, etc., etc., etc. And yeah, people can say, oh, that's because of the budget. But that's also because Steve Hitchens doesn't know how to negotiate within that budget.
It's also because of the methodology, right?
But you look at Paratici, Sean, didn't have the money outright for Romero, but structures a deal still to bring him here. Doesn't have the money outright for Kulusevski. Structures a deal and still gets him here.
Yeah. But on top of that, before Paratici came along, and certainly before Conte came along, the methodology was, I'll try and buy the best young up-and-coming kid, but it's always one for the future. That hasn't worked. Ndombele, 60 million on the best up-and-coming talent that he thinks will be worth 200 million, maybe. I'll go out, I'll pay 60 million for him, but he's one for the future. He's not. He's one for the past. Same with Lo Celso, right? A young player that's kind of there, but not really. Let's try him in the big leagues. Same with Brian Hill. Same with Emerson. That stuff's gone now. As far as we're aware, the new methodology is whatever Conte wants, Conte gets, and he wants tried and tested. And so if that means Perisic, there's not an experimentation with Perisic. There's not an experimentation with De Vrij. There's probably not one with Bastoni. Maybe you could argue because he is very young, but I think he's kind of already proved his point. He's just a superstar talent like Romero that happens to be young. But I think going forward, whatever that 150 million, Robert, that you're pointing out there, I don't think that we're going to be spending 150 million on 5 or 6 players that are, maybe with Jed Spence. Listen, Jed Spence is probably still in that bucket, but Konrad Limer's not. Kostic isn't. Perisic certainly isn't. De Vrij certainly isn't. Bastoni probably isn't. And then if you move into the forward line, if anything's to be believed about whether it's Nuno, Nunez, whether it's Isaac, whether it's Martinez, Dybala, any of those names that we're being linked with, none of those are experiments. None of those are young players that with resale value, whereas most of the players that you're looking at there, Robert, are or were part of the old philosophy. And I hope that under Paratici now, with Conte now, with the 150 million. I hope that whole thing is part of the same transfer policy towards wherever you need now to get the job done now, to cement us now. That's where we're going to go. So I think the experimentation phase of Tottenham's transfers hopefully is done.
100%. And look, I'm a firm believer. The only reason why we went for Bale, if we're being honest, he had one good season in the Champions League. We got hoodwinked on the deal. How many players have you seen have a good World Cup and never ever hear of them again? Yeah. You know, we cannot fall into that cycle. Oh shit, he's shit. Huh? Everybody wants him around Europe. Let's go and get him. But no one questioned. Okay, well, Real Madrid, Man City, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, all linked with him. You know, yeah. Why did they pull out? Why did Tottenham end up being front runners for that deal? Because we would have been better off buying a McDonald's franchise. That's exactly why. You know, and we can't keep continuing to buy players off a whim like that. And Steve or Paratici is not that sort of guy.
Yeah.
You look at Bentancur and Kulusevski brought in. Now, anyone that done their homework would say to you, oh, they're rejects, because it doesn't suit their narrative.
Yeah.
But when you go and do the digging into them, and I sat there and said, how can they be rejects? Bentancur has won 9-10 trophies. He's won 2 Argentina titles, 1 Argentina Cup, 3 Serie A's, 4 Italian cups as well. He's a born winner. Yeah. He knows how to win things. Kulusevski, one of the hottest prospects around Europe.
And he's won trophies as well.
Yeah.
Romero's won trophies. Hugo Lloris has won. We're starting to pepper our team not only with talent but with winners. And if we can get someone like, I'd rather have Kostic, but Perisic, if you're looking for someone that's going to come in and do a job and be able to kind of acclimatize, there's probably less risk with Perisic than there is with Kostic, even though I think Kostic has got a bit more longevity in him. But there's winners in that. There's winners in that.
Yeah.
You find me a name, apart from Jed Spence, that we're being linked with that doesn't have winner, like doesn't have titles under their, their resume, under their curriculum vitae. I don't think there is many. Most of the names that we're being linked with right now have got history of success. And I think that really bodes us well. To get back to the point of whoever it was who brought it in, Brian Socrates, that we can win trophies next year. Or at least, it's like I say, it's going to be very difficult, Dave, but
yeah,
we increase the likelihood significantly, exponentially, by having players that have been there and done it and know the difference between participating and getting over the line when push comes to shove.
100%. I said Spurs fans out there, and Sean sums it up perfectly. We're no longer participating. We're now going to dominate, and that's what I want to see from Tottenham going forward. Look, I think we will wrap it up there. 2.5 hours. Been an absolute great discussion. I'm actually glad Sean kept me on a bit after, because it was good fun. We got some very, very good discussions in there. But guys, if you are out there and you do like what Sean has to say, which a lot of people do, well, Sean, they can just simply click on the link here, get over and smash that subscribe button. But anyone that's thinking about it, why should they get over?
Just because on my channel, like every single day, I take my dog out for a walk. Well, if there's news, I'll take my dog out either way. But if there's specific news, I'll take my camera out with me, this little bad boy. And I spend the time talking to myself in the camera and get my dog, me and Bugsy's thoughts on Tottenham off our chest. I upload that by about 1 o'clock GMT. So whatever's going on in the market, you haven't got to sit there and spend time figuring it out. I'll bring it to you every single day if there's news worth bringing. And then increasingly, I do panel shows 2-3 times a week where, similar to this, where we just get stuff off our chest. And then also, if there's financial news like there was today, I'll bring that stuff. And then, next season I'll be doing, other game day stuff as well. But yeah, you can find me over at Spurs Talk Show, but you can also find me here. You can find me on a plethora of different channels. I'm a bit of a celebrity whore, not a celebrity whore, a community whore. Terrible word, community whore. I go around the community on various channels, and I try and get my opinions heard everywhere. Guys, I love you all. Thank you so much for listening to me and to Dave today. And if you want to come over, you can find me at Spurs Talk Show, # all one word, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.
No, look, guys, get over there. He's an absolute genius when it comes to finances, guys, and he's just such a good guy as well. So everybody get over there and smash that subscribe button. Now, guys, do not go anywhere, because coming up tomorrow, we have the end of season fan show. Philip, Ellie, Brad Matthews, the list goes on and on and on. Chris, all the regulars, all the new people, come on and have your say. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we'll be doing transfer shows, player ratings, end of season player ratings, season review. And then we will also be bringing out shows on the Bentancur and Romero impact, hopefully bringing you stats and everything else, to show how much they really have transformed the team. Conte's job at Tottenham, as you can see, Sean asked me, Dave, how many points did we collect under Nuno? I was able to tell him exactly how many we won and lost under Nuno. As you can see, I'm already doing my homework and it's on its way. So guys, I want to say a massive thank you to Sean and Matty for today. Absolutely incredible from the two boys. Matty with the transfer, Sean helping break down that whole, Oxford Dictionary statement they put out with all these big words that dum-dums like me don't necessarily understand. So it's great to have Sean for stuff like that. And guys, I want to say a massive thank you to you guys out there. Over 500 in-house for the majority of the stream. That is absolutely incredible numbers. And hopefully now we can set that as the lowest target for every show going across the summer. I know it's a dream, but look, I like to dream. So what I will say to people is thank you very much for tuning in. On your way out, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Also, when it's finished, get your comments underneath. Let us know whether you agree, disagree, or anything else you want us to touch on in the next show. Get it all in the comments below. Go and enjoy your evening. Get them smiles on your face. Crack open a beer. Get yourself ready, because what's going to happen for Tottenham this season, next season, and the future, you're not going to be able to handle. So, guys, make sure you're prepared for it. Get the drinks into you. As always, come on, you Spurs. In Conte we trust, and the God is getting backed.
Come on, you Spurs!
Come on. Oh, quickly, guys. Actually, Tottenham on Tour are streaming right now. I'm very interested to go over myself and hear what Daigle has to say.
Spurs, rate it.
No, I'm very interested to see what he has to say, because I did read his tweet out earlier, and fair play to him. He did praise the likes of Levy and all, which, fair play to him for doing it, because considering he has said to us often, I will never give them praise. But today, they've made him do it. So, guys, let's all get over there and see what they have to say. I'm going to put the link in here. Click on it. Get over there. But when you do, make sure you put in Irish Hotspur Raid or Spurs Talk Show Raid. One of the two will do.
Irish Hotspur Raid. Irish Hotspur Raid.
And we will see you soon.
Let's go.